Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into Hoopsville. We are done with the first weekend of the NCAA tournament. Hoopsville is on the air. The first weekend of the tournament is over. I don't know if we've got any more answers than we started with. I'm your host, Dave McHugh. Welcome into Hoopsville, everybody, on this Sunday night, March 4th, 2018. If you got questions for us, and there could be plenty, or maybe none at all, email us, hoopsville at d3hoops.com. Join us on Facebook at facebook.com/hoopsville. You can also join us, well, you know the ways. All streaming at the bottom of your screen. Of course, we're simulcasting on Facebook Live. Those who are watching there can interact with us there. If you're watching us on the YouTube page, there isn't anything on our show page, but if you happen to be on the YouTube side of that thing, you can chime in there. If you figured out how to do that there, and we welcome it. Just understand, it's only one of us, and sometimes getting around to all the questions is a little bit difficult. I actually just finished answering a question from 5 days ago. Sorry about that. I know a lot of people also emailed us. I have been slammed. I have not been able to email in the last week. A lot of responses. I want to get to some. Some of them even asked about donating to the show. I want to thank you for that. I will get back to you on how you can do that. We did not have a fundraiser this year, but doesn't mean we still don't appreciate those of you who may want to help us out, and we will get to you as soon as we can about that stuff. Where do we start? It was an absolutely wackadackle season. I made that all up, if you're just curious, with the NCAA tournament. We expected on the men's side parity. We spoke from the beginning. Expect upsets. I don't think I expected all of the upsets I saw. I certainly expected to see some crazy outcomes. I think I was a little surprised Friday didn't have more, to be blunt. But on the flip side of that, the ones that were pretty unique. Unique enough that on the front page at d3hoops.com, if you have not noticed, we have our biggest first-round upsets of the past decade. It's a pretty solid list, if you're wondering. Go through it. It was a good debate behind the scenes as well. So lots to talk about here tonight. Listen, I will say this. There are 32 teams still playing basketball. We can't talk to them all. We do our best on tonight's show and even Thursday's show to talk to as many as we can, hedging our bets a little bit as to who we think may move on. Now, please do not read into that who we have on the show we think will not move on. That's not how it works. We just know that we maybe will not necessarily fit them in at a future date when we're talking to others. The other reason is sometimes the news is just worthy of it. Had lots of options, toyed around with a bunch of ideas, and finally we stuck with what we went with. So we have 6 guests tonight. We will most likely have 4 to 6 guests on Thursday as well. One guest I didn't get onto the show tonight, but I might try and turn something around tomorrow. The NABC will open up its all-star voting at d3hoops.com, I believe, tomorrow, Monday. I'm sure the guys can correct me. I double-checked that with others, and I was pretty sure I was accurate on it. We wanted to talk about it on the show. I wasn't able to arrange it. I'm going to see if I can do something ahead of that so people understand that voting to some degree and why it's so important. I think the voting's up for a couple of days, and then it closes. That's basically the last 2 people who are in, though we won't know the full all-stars until next week. Some of them are still playing basketball, obviously. So that is one we won't get in tonight, but I hope I can maybe turn a little podcast around or something about it in the next 24 to 36 hours. So where do you want to start? I say we start with one of the bigger upsets that we have seen in recent memory. I'm not sure. Well, listen, I made a comment on the NCAA.com broadcast that obviously was noticed by the boys, as it were. It was noticed by the guys at Aurora for the comment. So be it. I'm fine with that. I will stick by my comments. I made a comment that someone had to go play WashU, and I had a lot of confidence that WashU, despite the loss to Chicago, was one of the top teams in the country and probably one of those you could at least say was a favorite to make Salem, though this year is so wide open, there's a lot of teams you could say that for. Aurora pulled off a tremendous upset. Congratulations to them. But if you didn't see it, buckle your seatbelt. The end of this is pretty darn fun to watch.
Force overtime or else the season could be over. Crazier to inbound. Looks right. Nup. Nestor for the tie. It's on the way. God! What? A prayer was answered. Nestor buries a three. 1.6 seconds left. Myers gets the catch. He'll shoot a three for the win. It's good! I think it's good.
Watch this shot again. The ball is halfway to the rim by the time the lights light up. And just like that, WashU's season is over. Congratulations, Aurora. That is an outstanding win, to say the least. I'm very impressed. Unfortunately, lost the next night. That happens. We've seen that on many occasions. Where does that rank in our top 10 of games? You're going to have to go to d3hoops.com. Not now. Not now. Don't. If you're watching this show live, you are not going there now. Well, unless you can figure out how to stay with us and still go to the front page to find out where we think that ranked in the top 10 in the last 10. Okay, good. You're staying with the show. I appreciate that. So lots to talk about here on the show, and we hope you'll enjoy it. That Aurora game was significant, to say the least. I really did think WashU, with that senior-laden class, was going to be able to make a run. Now the question is, how does WashU reload? What does Mark Edwards do to get this program back to it next year? They lose so many seniors next year, or in the offseason. It's going to be interesting to see what the Bears do. Jay Cozen's watching the show. Jay, you always seem to watch every hour. Going on 53 hours with zero power in the Philadelphia suburbs. Man, I am sorry, Jay. I'm hoping to be good by Tuesday or Wednesday in time for the next nor'easter. You're right. Another one expected on Wednesday. He says, I know that I won't get much attention given the numbers and magnitude of actual upsets this weekend, but I do want to give out to the shout out to Lancaster Bible, who are last second 3-point shot from taking CNU at CNU into overtime. This was not the 27-0 LBC team from 2 years ago. Great effort by Coach Fritzen and the players in defeat. I agree with you. By the way, Brian, you didn't lose sound. It was just really, really low, and then when I went to the replay, there was no sound. So you didn't really lose sound. I couldn't boost it any higher. I apologize. Jay, I agree. I was watching that LBC game rather intently. I was fascinated by it. I thought there was a chance. I think it goes to prove that we have to stop underselling the top of the NEAC. Listen, the rest of the NEAC has been proven to not be that great. I'm being blunt. I'm going to be honest. I had a coach last night text me back and say, thank you. At least you're the one who's honest about things. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to be mean, and I'm not going to be over the top or grandiose. But the NEAC is not one of the better conferences in Division III. We all know that. It's in the bottom group. The middle to bottom is not that competitive. But we have seen year in and year out that an NEAC team, a NEAC team, can compete with a lot of the division, especially in the national tournament. We've seen Morrisville State get to the second weekend 2 years in a row a few years back. We saw Lebanon Valley, or Lebanon, Lancaster Baptist, LBC versus LVC in the same area. LBC get to the second game when they made it that undefeated year and take Worcester right to the wire. They could have been a Sweet 16 team. Absolutely no question about it that the top of the NEAC tends to at least prove themselves, at least on the men's side, sometimes on the women's. So I'm not overly surprised they took CNU. I'm not overly surprised CNU lost the second game either, but hats off to them, to say the least. You raise a good point, absolutely there in that one. Lots of other upsets certainly took place. Sean Kavanaugh saw, why, yes, I was having heart attacks during the Greenville-Augie game. There was another one. I think I hinted at it both on the NCAA bracket show and on later Hoopsville shows. Augustana can't look over Greenville. Greenville was going to give them a game. It was not going to be easy. The score says that Augustana won 123-111. Yeah, but, right? Okay? That score is not indicative of just how good that game was, how much Greenville led in that game. And it's funny because one of the guys, I think it was Ryan, could have been Gordon, behind the scenes as we're chatting during games, says this is one of those games where Augustana is going to win by 20 and people aren't going to realize how close they came to losing it. And he's right. Greenville is a well-coached team by Coach Barber. By the way, hats off to Coach Barber. We'll see him in Salem. We will get him on the pregame show, and we'll talk to him about his political agenda. Yes, he's running for office. We'll talk more about that in the future. But they are a good team who runs a system in its second year at that school under Coach Barber extremely well. They do good things with it, and I like how they've utilized it. And they have they do present matchup problems. Not surprised Augustana almost took them out. Not surprised in the least. Dave Smith says, how about the 3 WIAC teams still alive in the Sweet 16? Yep, pretty impressed. I'm more impressed with Oshkosh, I think, than all of them. I pretty much expected Platteville to get to the second weekend. I liked that they're set up. I thought Stevens Point at least had an interesting scenario where they could get to the second weekend, so I'm not blown away that they got there. Stevens Point had, where was it? There it is. They had North Central in the first one. I'm a little surprised maybe that North Central flat out didn't show up. 55 points, pretty startling to me. And then when Bethany Lutheran got past St. John's, I figured Stevens Point had a pretty good shot. St. John's was my favorite to come out of that weekend, certainly. I really liked the Johnnies. They just didn't show up on Friday night. Bethany Lutheran, another team that I warned you about. I said on the NCAA tournament bracket show, and I said in other ones, you don't sleep on the UMAC either. Northwestern has shown that they can beat top teams. And Bethany Lutheran beating Northwestern kind of told me in the back of my mind, watch out for the Vikings. Jeff Rogers' team is well coached, and they beat St. John's by 10 in a high-scoring affair. Not surprised they ran out of gas against Stevens Point. Stevens Point can make people do a lot of crazy things. I got an email earlier today talking about how I've been confused by the WIAC, and I don't think that's a completely fair statement about what I've said about the WIAC. Saying that I've listened to your wrestling with trying to figure out the WIAC all season. I'm not surprised by their success in tourney. Stevens Point lost their best player to injury early. Yes, we knew that, Bublitz. So they had some early non-conference struggles. They were great on D as usual, but they're also very efficient on offense. Oshkosh and Platteville are both well-coached veteran teams. WIAC is a very deep conference, and they beat each other up all season. And that's what we've talked about. And listen, I gave the WIAC the benefit of the doubt of being a conference that beats themselves up. But I saw Stevens Point in the middle of that slide in the middle of the season. I saw them play at Vegas and have 2 losses. And on air, I said, listen, they're a very good defensive team, but they're not blowing me away. They don't have a lot of offensive weapons. They may be efficient on offense, but they're susceptible. I'm very impressed with what Stevens Point has done this season. I'm very impressed that they've gotten to the second weekend of the tournament. I'm not shocked. I said near the end of the season, I thought Stevens Point was starting to remind me of that 2015, I think it was, national championship team that didn't blow anybody away. Now, that team had better offensive weapons. That team at least had a little bit more, something to them that made them a threat. This year's team is interesting. They've got a tough matchup now with Whitman. I'm going to be watching that game with Hawkeyes out there at Platteville. The other side of that got a fascinating game between Nebraska Wesleyan and Platteville. But I am more impressed with Oshkosh. Oshkosh got past a tough Marietta team. Not overly surprised that they won that. I thought Marietta was struggling a little bit at the end of the season. It seems Marietta peaks a little too early in most seasons. Oshkosh got past them 74-67. It's the win over Wittenberg I was very impressed with. Wittenberg had smoked Misericordia by 30 the previous night. They beat them by 8. I thought Wittenberg was one of the better teams in the country. Bob Quillman had made that comment on our selection show. I really did feel Wittenberg, despite 2 losses late in the season, had figured things out and were tough. Oshkosh beating them tells me a lot. Oshkosh is a really good team. I'm very impressed. Here's our problem with Thursday. I don't want to talk to 2 WIAC schools. We're going to have to pick one. But hats off. Absolutely tremendous by Oshkosh. Really impressed. Nothing to take away from the WIAC. I've said that the WIAC is good. My problem with the WIAC was I was waiting for someone to rise above it. Platteville eventually did that on the men's side. Whitewater on the women's side eventually did that too. That said, Whitewater lost in the second round of the tournament. We'll be talking to the team that knocked them out. Nothing against anybody else in the WIAC. I just felt now we're taking too many losses. At some point, you need to separate yourselves. And I know they go out there and they really schedule hard in the out-of-conference schedule, and I applaud them for that. I think at some points maybe they go too hard. I think they can still get into the tournament with maybe one less difficult team to at least give yourself maybe a better W. But now we're getting into semantics, splitting hairs, and all of that stuff. But that said, really impressed with the WIAC. Not surprised 3 teams are out. Maybe surprised in the fact that Oshkosh got past Wittenberg. That's where I am surprised. But the fact they beat them, I'm not surprised they joined Platteville, who got out, and Stevens Point because St. John's had lost. If St. John's won and it's against Stevens Point, that one would have been a little more interesting to me. I think Stevens Point would have had some trouble against St. John's, especially their size inside. Peyton Gallagher has a question. He says, just a thought. Oh, for your interview. Glad you're having your friend Jason Zimmerman on the show in Emory tonight. You're right. We'll talk about your question. I know it's coming up. I know you're diving deep with Davidson, Peyton. I've gotten this question from you before. Not sure how much Jason's going to dive in there with you, but man, we'll see if we get to it. Speaking of guests, let's talk about who we have coming on. Chuck McBrain from Ramapo will join us. Roadrunners into the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. If I'm correct, I believe that's the first time since 2005. And that year, they lost in the Sweet 16. You remember, York came out of that weekend and went on to the Final Four for the first time in program history. York, unfortunately, losing in the second round to a really good Hamilton squad. York also played Yeshiva. I will have thoughts on Yeshiva later in the show, by the way. We'll wrap up our programming with some thoughts on the tournament, including Yeshiva and those patting themselves on the back for making sure a player didn't play in that game. I'll have thoughts on that later. But Ramapo coming on, Chuck McBrain, we'll talk to him. They're also hosting, which is also similar to 2005. We'll talk to Chuck and his first year on the committee, get his thoughts on things. Larry Anderson from MIT will join us. I saw him at Hopkins. Friday I did the double dip, went up to York, saw him play the York Yeshiva game. I saw half of the Nazareth-Hamilton game. Then I headed south, had to deal with some darn Baltimore traffic outside of the fact you're having to drive in 80-mile-an-hour winds. To all you in the Northeast, just northeast of where I live, Philadelphia, who got surprise 7 inches of snow on Friday, and everywhere else, I applaud that you got through the nor'easter. Sadly, there's another one coming, but we had to deal with some insane winds down here, closed schools. I drove down through that, got to Hopkins, got to see 2 games there. The Brockport game, just to lead off against MIT, to be honest, wasn't blown away by Brockport. Maybe they just weren't playing a great game. Love their senior. Absolutely tremendous talent. Really hope we see him in Salem at the All-Star game. But really impressed with what MIT was doing without Jamard. Could not make Saturday's game, and they beat what I thought was a very good, though a little bit lacking Hopkins team. That Hopkins team is good, but there was something lacking in their first-round game that I just couldn't put my finger on. I'm not sure what it was. They played ugly. It wasn't tremendous. MIT took advantage of it. We'll talk to Larry Anderson about what might be changing at MIT coming up next week. Jason Zimmerman for Emory will join us. Then we'll switch to the women. Bill Broderick will join us from CNU. Christopher Newport got past the Kelly Williams-led Randolph-Macon squad at Randolph-Macon. Now they head to Hope to take on Thomas More. A little deja vu. We'll talk to Bill Broderick about that. Then we'll talk to Coach Kelly from Gustavus Adolphus. There's the team that took out Whitewater. We'll talk to her about getting the Gusties on to the second round of the NCAA tournament, representing MIAA along with St. Thomas. And then Carla Berube will join us from Tufts. Last time we talked to her, it was the preseason. We'll talk to her about the season that has been for the Jumbos and what they will now have to do at Scranton on the women's side. If you're not sure, the hosts have been announced on the women's side. For me, it was pretty obvious. I thought Scranton would host. Amherst was obviously a slam dunk. Pretty sure Hope was going to host when we knew there was going to be 2 flights. And then Wartburg hosting as well. On the men's side, 3 of them were pretty obvious. We were pretty confident it was going to go to Augustana because Oshkosh can get to Augustana without a flight, not to John Carroll where everybody would have had to flown. We also have, sorry, my brain just went kaplooey on this. We're heading to Ramapo, as we mentioned, where Franklin and Marshall, Middlebury, and MIT will be. We'll head to Platteville, where Wheaton, Stevens Point, Nebraska Wesleyan, and Platteville will be. And then the surprise for me was Swarthmore. At one point, I was leaning towards Plattsburgh State might host this. I then looked at the numbers. Thank you to Ryan for reminding me. Hamilton's numbers were pretty solid. Hamilton could have easily hosted this, but instead it heads to Swarthmore. So those are your hosts. It'll be interesting to see how these games progress as we move closer. Benjamin asked me, where on the East Coast, Philadelphia, where are you headed for sectional Swarthmore or Ramapo? I am located in the Baltimore area. That's how I got to York and Johns Hopkins for games on Friday. So I'm southwest of Philadelphia, the city that no one talks about between Philadelphia and D.C. But I'm outside Baltimore. Not sure where I'm headed yet. Got some challenges on my side logistically that we have to figure out. I got a couple ideas of where I'd like to head, but there's also other staff behind the scenes we got to figure out. All 4 of those are certainly reasonable. Not sure I can get all 4 are within range of me being able to get to this year. But I do stick with the men because I head to Salem, and I will be calling the games for the NCAA on the men's side. So I do like going to see the men's games if I can this weekend. And so we'll see. We'll see. If things are tight, it'll definitely be Ramapo or Swarthmore or both, depending on how I can pull things off. I sometimes can double dip, going to one on one day and one on the other. But we'll see. Decision won't be made. You'll know on Thursday when we do the show. All right, with that note, we have got to get going. I know there's a lot to talk about. We can certainly talk about plenty more, but we have a lot of guests on the show tonight as well. and we want to get to them. If you do have questions for us, tweet us, email us, Facebook us, you name it, you can do it. Certainly will be interesting to hear what you all have to say, and we'll try and answer your questions as well, especially for our coaches. All of our coaches live tonight, by the way. All of them live, and we look forward to having them with us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll start things off with Ramapo coach Chuck McBrain. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCANABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
In any way that we can.
To get a friend home safe.
To never blame the victim.
It's on us.
To stand up.
To make our community safe for all. It's on us.
It's on us to look out for each other at parties.
It's on us.
To be more than just a bystander.
To step up and say something.
It's on us, all of us.
To stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
It'd be helpful if I hit the audio button. Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. We are live as we always are. You're watching Hoopsville on this Sunday evening as we break down the first weekend of the tournament and start looking ahead to the second weekend on our road to Rochester for the women and on the road to Salem on the men's side. Of course, we're coming from the WBCANABC Studios presented by D3Hoops.com. If you got questions for us, the information on how to contact us is scrolling at the bottom of your screen. We appreciate all of those of you who have tuned in to watch. We appreciate it. If you're tuned into the podcast or on demand, we appreciate you as well when you're finding time to listen to the show, and that means a lot to us. All right, so one of the knocks we've had on the NJAC for a long time is they struggle to get out of the second weekend. It's been a fact. Stockton twice has done it and certainly made some deep runs in the last 15 years. But outside of that, it's been a little bit troublesome for NJCU, who lost to Union on the opening night. Ramapo had the opportunity to maybe get out of the weekend this year, though they were going to have to get past a Tufts Williams squad is what I'm really trying to say. But they had to get past their opening game as well, which has also been challenged. Well, they did it. They got past not only their opening game, but they got past Williams on the road, and now their reward is they're actually going to be hosting the second weekend of the tournament in New Jersey. Joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville hotline, it's their head coach, Chuck McBrain. And, sir, tip of the hat, absolutely tremendous. You guys are playing still and getting a chance to host.
Thanks, Dave. I really appreciate that.
You and I have talked about this topic in nauseum. It's a favorite, mainly because we see you every darn year at the D3Hoops.com Classic. There's not much else we can talk about. You guys really looked good this year up until we saw you at the D3Hoops.com Classic. Lost 2 in a row to Ohio Wesleyan and Central. And then you guys struggled a little bit in conference. Honestly, with me, did you think you guys had the team that could get what you've gotten accomplished now done while in the middle of that little rough spot in the middle of the season?
No, to be honest with you, no. We struggled at different points of the season. You know, we had a tough opener with Randolph-Macon, and then we kind of got it going, and then we got out to Vegas, and we definitely didn't put our best foot forward. And then we came home. And I don't know if we struggled when we got home. We won our first game back, and then we played a tough College New Jersey team on their court and lost at the buzzer. I think more of the struggle was out in Vegas as opposed to when we got home. And then we started to get it back going, and then we lost a tough game at Jersey City, which is a tough place to play. Mm-hmm. You know, so on the overall, it hasn't been easy. I thought it was a lot easier season as far as the way things unfolded for last year's team as opposed to this year's team. But to their credit, we have such a great group of seniors, great leaders, high character guys, and they stayed with it, and they had to play through the expectations of being preseason number 5, being picked by all 10 coaches to win the NJAC and all. And it made the task a little bit more difficult, but in the end, they've risen to the occasion, and now we're standing here at this point.
Absolutely. They've risen at certainly the right time. Calling the game against Central that you guys ended up losing by 5 in Vegas, one of the comments I made, you guys were up pretty strong, almost 20, if not 20. But I started to see some things that concerned me, and I said, listen, this is the point where Ramapo has struggled, that sometimes they get up on an opponent and they think we've got this, and they seem to take their foot off the accelerator. And I thought we saw that in the NCAA tournaments as well. Lo and behold, Central comes storming back, gives you guys a game, and you lose by 5. I raise that only to ask this. Have you taken that example of a game and used it with your team to say, guys, the game is never over. We can't let off the accelerator?
We discuss that regularly, and for some reason this team, I don't think, you know, at the end of the day, I don't know if it's us taking our foot off the gas pedal or just separating the two ends of the floor. When we go through droughts, one of the things we're trying to get our guys to understand that both ends of the floor are separate. And when we go through droughts offensively, we have shown the ability to let us affect us on the defensive end as well. And as a result, runs occur. And once we say one of the hardest things to stop in sports is momentum. Yeah. And so it's not a matter, I don't think, of us taking our foot off the accelerator or us feeling comfortable that the lead is in a good place. I think it's more so not separating both ends of the floor. And when we do this, teams start to creep back in the game. And then, you know, once it gets started and the snowball starts picking up speed, it's hard to stop. So we've had trouble with this all year long, not just against Central. So this has been an ongoing thing. Yeah. And we constantly talk about, as long as we can continue to get stops on the defensive end, even if we're struggling on the offensive end, we'll be okay. But, you know, at times when we've blown a game like Central and all, it's been our inability to separate the two ends.
That's fascinating, and I see your point. You can start getting down on your offense, and then you kind of get checked out on defense as a result because you're worried too much about the offense or whatever the case may be. It's separating the two. That's some of the best teams can figure out how to do that. How much did you see that now coming to fruition? You had a relatively easy game with Moravian. Don't want to knock them too much, but 86-61. But then you had to take on Williams at Williams and got past them by 4 in a really tough battle. What was the secret to the sauce, as it were, to get through that one?
Well, the biggest thing with them is that they play both ends of the floor. Excellent. They do a great job. If they get you into a half-court basketball game, they execute their half-court offense tremendously, and they're a great team defense in the half-court. You know, our idea was to try to get the game going up and down and more at our pace. We didn't do a great job of it, but the good thing that we were able to do on the most part was separate the two ends. And we struggled at times offensively in this game. You know, we struggled right up until the end of the first half, and I think we went on a 10-0 run to end the first half. And then at the end of the game, we had a 58-52 lead with about 4.5 minutes to go. We turn it over. We get a shot clock violation, and then they score 7 straight. So, again, we came to the timeout, and I told our guys that 7-0 run is a product of us not being able to separate. You know, we had bad offense at that time, but it was definitely not a time to have bad defense. And we did, they took a 1-point lead with 3:17 to go, but then we went back on like a 7-0 or 8-0 run to kind of seal the deal. But, I mean, they're a great team. They're so well coached. They have such history. Obviously, they were in the Final Four last year and all. And for us to go up there and not being able to get out of the first weekend since 2005 and find a way to get it done is just an amazing accomplishment for our program.
Certainly. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my memory serves, I think it was 2005, the last time you guys hosted the second weekend of the tournament. Unfortunately, it was a loss in the Sweet 16 round. York came out of there. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm missing one in between. But the bigger point being, you're getting a chance to be at home. You're getting a chance to take on Franklin and Marshall at your place, and potentially, should you win, a chance to get to Salem on your court. How much does that mean to you as an individual who I know that is prideful of this team, but also at the same time, what does this mean to the program?
It means a great deal. I mean, one of the goals when I took this job was to get to Salem, and in my first 4 or 5 years, we got to the Final 8 and lost by 2 out at Worcester, and then we came right back in 2005, 2 years later, and got to the Sweet 16 and had an opportunity to host and get to the Final Four. And at that point in my career, I thought that this would be an opportunity that we would have on a regular basis. And me being young and naive, not realizing how difficult it is, not only just to win the conference and then to get out of the first weekend, just became even tougher for us. So it's been a long, hard road to get back to this point, and hopefully we can make the most of this opportunity to host. But it's difficult, man. There's so many great teams in the country and all, and you need a lot of luck. I mean, I was watching tonight where I saw what happened in that WashU game where they hit a 3 to tie it, and then I believe it was Aurora come right back with 4 seconds and gets a 3. You need so much luck, or a bounce of the ball, or something, and also you have to be good, but you have to have some luck to advance in this tournament as well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. We should point out you're on the national committee in your first year. We'll get to that in a moment, but I want to clarify to anybody at home, you weren't allowed to take part in the conversations about getting to your place. I know you well, Chuck. If you were allowed, I suspect it would have been a lot of, New Jersey's a beautiful time this year. Got lots of great things. You really should come to our place. Really should come.
Other than the snow.
You're right.
It is a great place. I mean, I lived here my whole life, and I love it. I thought we would have gotten the opportunity again. I'm not allowed to be on the call because I'm in the tournament. So I thought that there was an opportunity for us to host in the first weekend, and unfortunately for us, the committee didn't feel that way. And I know that everything. It's such a classy committee, very professional, great group of guys. I'm really enjoying working with them. And at the end of the day, they did their job. They looked at the data, and they came up with the teams that would be hosted in that first weekend. And, it was unfortunate that it wasn't us. But at the end of the day, we told our team there's only 64 teams playing, and we're still one of them. And let's make the most of this opportunity, especially since I start 5 seniors. So every game could be their last, and we just wanted to make the most of it.
I want to talk a little bit about the committee in a moment, but I want to talk about the team before we get any further. First and foremost, you're led, and everybody knows that, by Thomas Bonnicum. Second on the team, Christopher Mosley. Patrick Peterson, third on the team at just a hair under double digits at 9.9, and then Josh Ford. But back to Bonnicum. I wouldn't say this was the season I think a lot of people expected. It seemed like he wasn't necessarily himself, maybe not at 100% much of the season. But, man, he is one you guys rely on, and when he's on, and he can certainly spark you guys.
Well, he did that last night. I mean, he played like an All-American last night. He hasn't had the season that he had last year, and I don't know. He will never admit to it because he's just such a high-character kid with a great leader. I think, personally, he might be playing with an injury from last year that he might need an operation after the season. But, again, he's never going to admit to it. And only time will tell if that is the case. But he goes out there no matter how he's feeling or what his injury is. He's going to play, and he's going to give it his best. And, throughout the year, he struggled a little bit. But down the stretch, when these games have mattered most, he has been unbelievable. And last night, he might have had the best game of his career. I mean, he went out 33, 13 points. I think he had 3 or 4 assists and a couple of steals and a couple of block shots. And he carried us. We had 66 points. He had 33 of them. He shot 11 for 15 from the field. Was perfect from the foul line, 5 for 7 from the 3. I mean, it was just an amazing game. When we had adversity throughout the game and needed a play to be made, he kind of put us on his back and made the play. So I mean, it's just a pleasure to coach him, and I'm really going to miss him when he goes, because he's even a better person than he is a player, and we're going to hate to see him go.
I think 3 of his 4 seasons we've saw him in Vegas. It's been fun to watch him kind of grow as a player. But one little quirk, and maybe I'm seeing it differently. It seems sometimes, though, when you guys are struggling, and you talk about both sides of the floor, but when the offense is a little off, it feels like sometimes he can disappear because other guys are trying to help spark the team. And then they realize, no, we got to get it to Bonnicum, and now he's out of sorts, but at the same time, the other guys disappear. Is that kind of trying to stay in the flow hard for you guys? Because he's a different style than a Mosley or a Peterson or a McWilliams, just as they're different styles than he is.
The thing with Tommy is he's so unselfish that sometimes we have to really kind of beg him to stop passing up good opportunities, and that our team goes as he goes. And at the end of the day, when he's going well, he makes everybody around him better. Yeah. But sometimes he takes the back seat. And one of the biggest things we preach in our program is unselfishness. And these 2 teams I've had the last 2 years have just been incredibly unselfish, to a fault sometimes, where we pass up good shot opportunities early in the shot clock only to get a poor shot at the end of the shot clock. And then you see us go into these droughts for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes without scoring, and we're passing up good shot opportunities. So, I mean, we preach unselfishness every day, but sometimes we do it to a fault.
Yeah, I can understand that. All right, let me slide into your committee role. You got your first chance to serve on the National Committee. I know you and I have had long conversations about how this whole thing works, and now you're kind of you're in deep, as they say, Coach. What's been the first year like for you?
It's been a lot of fun, a great group of guys. You know, I didn't know what to expect. It was my first year. There was suggestions from a numerous amount of people that I thought that I would be good at this role, you know, based on the fact that, number one, I coach, I've served on the RAC, and I am an administrator at Ramapo. So they thought that I fit the bill for this committee. And, I mean, these guys embraced me and welcomed me with open arms. Tim Fitzpatrick is just a great leader of the group. I really respect him tremendously. And all the other guys on the committee I got great respect for. So it's been fun. I'm looking forward to working with them in Salem. If I'm fortunate enough to still be playing in Salem, you know, that would be great as well. But obviously I'm going to be on this committee for the next 4 years, and I'm going to get the opportunity to spend time with these guys. And I'm really looking forward to it, because they've taught me a great deal about everything in regards to this tournament and how it works. You know, a lot of times people see just basic numbers and win-loss percentage and don't really know enough about SOS and regional rank components and so forth. So they don't really know what goes into the criteria of picking teams and getting the right teams in the field. But I think there's always going to be, whether it's Division I, whether it's all level, there's going to be questions on those last few teams.
Oh, sure.
Who might have been snubbed or who didn't. But at the end of the day, I think the committee on a whole did a great job. And in my opinion, I think we did a good job of getting this right.
Since I've got you, one question we had just regarding ranking. You guys had kind of a tough hosting. You had a kind of a tough conversation, I'm sure, between Plattsburgh, Swarthmore, and Hamilton. Those 3 are very similar in nature in terms of criteria and whatnot, all probably very easily host material, as it were. Was that as tough as it seems from the outside, and what kind of led you guys towards Swarthmore? I heard it was a pretty obvious choice to some degree.
Well, on the most part, a lot of things, again, like I said, people don't have access to numbers. People don't have access to who put into host. I mean, these are all different things that come into the equation. It's not so much always just the numbers. You know, sometimes people, for whatever reason, their site's not available or whatever. So there's different things that go into it and all. And, you know, at the end of the day, we had good discussion, and on a whole, the committee just decided that it was Swarthmore.
Sure.
You know.
No, I get it. You're right. There's a lot of stuff even we try as media guys, as much as we know the system, we know we don't see it all. You guys have a lot bigger monitors in front of you with a lot more information than we do. And so, hey, I appreciate you taking the time. I could talk to you more about this. You and I always talk long, but we got to get going tonight. I look forward to seeing you in Salem no matter what, because obviously you will be there, but it'd be cool if we get to see your team there. So good luck this weekend to be sure. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Again, like I've always said every time I've been on the show, I appreciate all the hard work you do for D3. I mean, the coverage and all, I really appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to being in Salem one way or the other. Obviously, I would love to be there as a coach for the first time in my career because it's been a goal of mine since I took over at Ramapo, and I would love that opportunity and all. So I'm hoping that we are up to the challenge and, you know, the home court advantage on our place plays a factor, but that remains to be seen. So either way, I will definitely see you in Salem, and thank you for having me on the show today.
Absolutely, sir. Thanks for taking the time. Enjoy the week at the very least, and I'll look forward to talking to you down the road.
All right, Dave. Thank you.
Absolutely. Chuck McBrain joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville hotline. Ramapo 23-6. They are on a 5-game winning streak. Their last loss coming to New Jersey City, as Coach pointed out, back on February 10th. They'll take on Franklin and Marshall in the second of 2 games there in Mawa at the Bradley Center. Should be some fun, exciting basketball, to be sure. Thanks to Coach McBreen for joining us. Going to take a break. When we come back, we will talk to Larry Anderson of MIT. How does he think his team did getting out of Baltimore? And furthermore, how does he think they're going to do next weekend? You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCANABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that. A lot more.
Sure, the game is important, but as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics, and in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
This is why we love sports. It's in the way they play, free from the pressures and all the money talk. Playing for simply the love of the game, where everyone has a shot at their definition of success on and off the field. This is what we love about sports, and what we can still love about college sports.
It starts right when you hit the court. You imagine your finest moment. The game-winning shot that gets you to the dance, a monster dunk or no-look pass, and cutting down the net. Sports lets us dream of our own success and prepare us for our finest moments on and off the court.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying this Sunday show. We're going to keep things moving along because we're running a little bit behind. We got a lot to get in tonight. If you're listening to or watching the Emmys, why? You should be watching us. We have a much more exciting and less political, I'm assuming. We're not as well dressed. I understand. I know. I'm wearing Salem tonight. I'm not wearing Vera Wang. I hope you don't mind. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. Join us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Hoopsville. Noticed a couple of our teases went out today under my personal account, Dave McHugh, and not out under the Hoopsville account. I got nothing for you, folks. Sometimes the new tweet deck with its new restrictions has been a little bit convoluted despite our best efforts. If you got them, send them. We will try and do our best with questions. So MIT, listen, I'll be honest. They lost 3 of 4 and really almost 4 in a row after Jomard went down with an injury against Babson. They have recovered, beating Clark, WPI, and Babson along with WPI again in the conference championship to move on. Looked really good against Brockport, and while I didn't watch them against Hopkins, I know beating Hopkins means they played pretty darn well. But that's my opinion. What does the coach think of it all? Joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville hotline, it is the head coach of MIT, the 19th ranked Engineers. It is Larry Anderson, and welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Dave.
So listen, we've talked about this, you and I, just to ourselves, but at the same time, I know it's been a topic of conversation. Jomard, who is your all-everything guy, goes down in that Babson loss in overtime. You barely get past Wheaton in the next one in overtime, then lose 2 in a row to Coast Guard and Springfield. And I'll admit, I didn't think things looked all that good for you guys. But it seems like you guys have re-tinkered, and almost the injury has helped reshape your team in a way that's allowed other guys to realize, oh, I do have a role and I can contribute. Is that a fair way of saying it?
Absolutely. You know, if you date back to last year a little bit, we lost Brad Jomard, and we ended up winning 17 games, I believe, without him. But we're a much better team with him, for sure. And when he went down this year, we knew we could be in big trouble. But when we thought about it, we reverted back to last year again and said, how did we do last year, and what are we going to do now? And, you know, having guys, upperclassmen like A.J. Urico, Cam Korb, and guys, Vinny, Tim Roberts, guys like that who have been through the wars, we thought that collectively we could ask and help guys improve, you know, 1 or 2 plays. And that's what we've been working on, you know, over the last 2 or 3 weeks here. And they've stepped up to the challenge.
Not only stepped up to the challenge, but, you know, a win over WPI to close the season. Then you beat Babson and got them back for that overtime loss in the semifinals of the conference tournament. And then got past WPI for that conference championship. Granted, didn't play Springfield thanks to the upset by WPI. And then you looked really good against Brockport. I wouldn't say you looked stellar. I think Brockport kind of got you guys into a bit of a game that you weren't exactly wanting to play, but your defense was really good against them, except for that one player. And your offense seemed to be clicking. Now, I don't know what you guys did necessarily against Hopkins because I wasn't there, but you at least seem like you're confident, and confidence sometimes can get you really far.
Well, we're cautiously confident.
Okay.
If you will. The thing is, we try to put the work in every day in practice, and we let the results, you know, fall where they may. And when we go into these games, you know, you need some luck, and 1 or 2 calls here or there, or a play made here and there gives you an opportunity to win the game. What we want to try to do is stay as close as we can and give ourselves an opportunity to, at the end, to have a chance to have some success. And what we've talked about, too, is, you know, the collective effort, you know, stepping up our efforts on the defensive side of the basketball. With the number of injuries that we've had this year, we haven't had a lot of practice time together. But as of late, the last 2 or 3 days prior to going to the NCAA tournament, we did have a chance to practice, and our defense got a little bit better. As you were at the Brockport State game, well, what we wanted to do there was initially to try to take away some of their good ball movement that they normally have and have them not do so much there. But that almost backfired on us with one of the seniors who's an outstanding player. He had 38 points against us, and in that second half, he was just tremendous. So that's what we wanted to have happen, but we didn't know that we just didn't have an answer for what he was doing there. And then we come back and we play Hopkins. I've been knowing Josh, their head coach, for a number of years, and they're a tremendous team. Have been one of the best teams in the country for most of the year, and we knew we'd have our hands full there. And our defense that we have been working on, we held them to 54 points, and I was proud of that. That first half there, they held us to what I believe it was maybe 33% shooting from the field or something like that. and that from 3-point land, and they held us to 27 points. In the second half, we came out and we shot the ball so much better there, so our offense picked up. But our defense is what carried us throughout.
Defense has always been something you've been very proud of, but this team seems to also be a little bit let's refer back to the last time you guys made a significant run in the NCAA tournament and had a team like this that could be as dangerous. They weren't as mobile. They were more about execution on offense and being smart on defense. This team seems a little bit speedier maybe, or I don't know the right term here. It seems like you're playing with a different stack of cards this time.
Yeah, we coach according to what we get, and we try to play to our kids' strength, and you try to hide our weaknesses to a certain degree. But I think this group we have, their skill set is a little bit more advanced, if you will. Some guys can have they have more lanes that they can play within. AJ Urico, Dakota Pierce, Cam Cord, they can do a few more things. So you're playing more 5-man basketball as opposed to years ago when you watched us play on our way to the Final Four. We had Mitchell Cates who had the ball in his hands, maybe 99.9% of the time.
Yeah.
And so we play more 5-man basketball right now because their skill set is a little bit different.
So Jamard's been out. The team seems to have retooled nicely without him. And by the way, we should point out, it's not like this team's going anywhere away soon. You're going to grow a lot from this experience whenever it ends, whether it's cutting down the nets in Salem or on Friday. It doesn't matter. This team's getting a lot of experience, but he's been banged up. Is he out? Is he done? Or do you have any hopes that maybe if you get into the right spot, he might be able to come back and kind of give this team a shot in the arm on top of the shot they've already taken?
Well, it's possible. I was, when we were at Johns Hopkins this weekend, and our athletic trainer Jess came over to us and said, "Wow, Bradley's really making some big time progress. He's way ahead of schedule." So it's certainly possible. We miss him, and would love him have him back on the court. And he's been doing a tremendous job in terms of going to therapy, working out with Jessica, and so we're hopeful. But we don't know for sure right now. We're going to be cautious with him. We got him for another year.
Well, that's the thing, is everybody comes back. And how important is it, and this is an odd question maybe, but how important is it for a team, no matter how this season goes, to gain this postseason experience going into next year? Or is it overrated that sometimes it ends up being maybe a curse instead of a blessing?
I think each year is different. Just like each game is different. We had some experience of being in the NCAA tournament here, and we started off with Brockport State this year, and I thought our guys were a little tight. And for the first 5 or 6 minutes, and then they settled down a little bit and started to play MIT basketball. So I think it depends on the kind of kids you have. It's nice to have been there, but I think it's the mentality of the group that it plays the better role in terms of a prediction of how you might do from game to game or year in and year out. But this experience that we're gaining right now, we hope that it does pay dividends, going forward.
Next up's Middlebury. And I was going to say you're somewhat familiar with them. You're in the same darn region. But that said, I'm not even sure the last time you guys played them in the regular season or even the postseason. I've been going through, and it's been a while.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah. What do you expect from this game? I know it's early, and I'm not going to hold you to this, but what do you expect from the Panthers? And have you had any familiarity with them whatsoever, at least in recent history?
Well, Jeff is a good friend of mine, and you well coached. They've gone to the Final Four. They're always in the NCAA tournament. They're always one of the best teams in the country, and as well as the Northeast region. And they play in one of the top conferences in the country, the NESCAC. So we expect them to be a top-notch team, play really fast, play tough defense. I just looked at the scores where they played in their, I don't know if it was their first or second round game, where they put up a lot of points and they played well in the defensive end as well. At this point, we have not. We just got back on campus, so we haven't had a chance to take any film out to try to study them just yet. But I know what their program has been over the years, and we expect nothing but top-flight basketball. I know we better be prepared, or we're going to get run out of the gym.
I've heard you say that about a lot of teams that you've had to face, is you got to be prepared. Don't take this the wrong way, Coach, but every once in a while I get the feeling that you guys are a little bit of an aw shucks type of team. I mean, in the sense that, hey, I've got guys who want to play basketball, but geez, they're really smart kids. They're here for another reason. Or, yeah, we're having a pretty good season. And, we're enjoying it. You guys don't either seem to take anything seriously, which is perfectly fine. Or the other side of that, you guys don't seem to take yourselves maybe as seriously or realize just how good you really are, or what you're portraying to the rest of the country in the sense of talent and what student athletes can do. Do you guys realize the significance of MIT and how successful you've been?
Oh, shucks, Dave.
I walked right into that. Yeah, that's my fault.
Yeah. One thing. Let me see. How do I answer that? And I'm not trying to give you a coach's response either. I first of all, I'll start with myself. My mother taught me, my late mother, Willett Anderson, taught me to be extremely humble, very humble. And this is a humbling experience to be in this NCAA tournament and to be doing what we do. Like, my God, I can't believe we get paid to do what we do. And I think our guys are the same way. You can look at our guys. They go out and they do their jobs. They just think you just go out and play, and this is what you're supposed to be doing, as opposed to looking for any accolades or anything they do. That's what makes this such a special place to coach. It's because they just come to work, put their hard hats on, and say, let's do this and let's have fun doing it. And we, like you said, we take what we do seriously, but we don't take ourselves very seriously. We think that there's so many great teams across the country. And we think, one of my late mentors used to say, there are no big shots, there's no little shots, everybody's a good shot. And so we think we're a good shot, just like everybody else.
Well, that's a great answer. Thank you. Appreciate it. I got a quick question about Rust and Caltech. I'm kidding. That was just a little inside joke with you, sir. By the way, Ken, shout out to Ken Johnson, your head of communications. He says you're 12-6, edge on Middlebury in the all-time series. Last time you played was 06-07. So there gives you an idea of how long. At this point, is it house money? I mean, that's a weird question, but I mean, I assume you're just enjoying the ride at this point. Yes, you want to get to Salem. I mean, winning a national championship is always a goal and certainly important, but at the same time, I get the feeling a team like yours also just enjoys the opportunity.
Anytime you're going to definitely enjoy the opportunity, but if you come to practice and work really hard every day, you got to ask yourself the question: why are you working? Are you working just to play with house money?
Yeah.
Are you working just to learn a skill? We call ourselves the FAT family, and that's an acronym for passion, hard work, accountability, toughness, and family. When we try to live by those values every single day, individually and collectively. So you don't come to practice just to play with house money. And MIT, to me, not just in athletics, but in academics too. When you make up your mind to do something, you want to try to put forth your best effort to do that, and that's what we make every effort to do.
Maybe I shouldn't say house money. Isn't MIT famous to having a group of students and maybe a professor who went to Vegas and did very well? I might have used the wrong kind of reference there, now that I think about it. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, no, you come to practice, and when you go to practice every single day, you work hard, and you hope you can get some results from that. We never looked at it as, playing with house money. We figure, like, if you work really hard, let's try to get some results as from the hard work we put in.
Well, congratulations. I always enjoy watching you guys play. I enjoy how you coach. I enjoy the team on the floor. I'm always surprised, I guess. I'm never sure of what I'm going to see because I think you guys just tackle it differently every game, and I appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. Good luck this weekend, this coming weekend. We're still on the weekend. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Absolutely. Division III, we have a good brand of basketball here, and I hope people who are near and far would come out to see us play in any other Division III institution that's playing basketball in your area. And, Dave, as we always say, we appreciate what you do for our program and all the Division III programs across the country. And thanks for having me on tonight.
Well, thanks, sir. I appreciate it. The kind words, as always. Take care of yourselves. Safe travels. Look forward to catching you whenever I get the chance to catch you. And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Dave.
Absolutely. Larry Anderson joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville Hotline. The 19th ranked Engineers on to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament. Third round, they will take on Middlebury for the first time since 06-07. Thank you, Mr. Ken Johnson, for that little tidbit of information. They're a good team. Here's the thing, folks. There isn't a senior on that squad. I'm letting this sink in for you. There isn't a senior on that squad. They all come back. All right, so I somehow screwed up the order. Our next guest was supposed to be Jason Zimmerman from Emory, and then we were going to talk to Larry Anderson from MIT. I don't know how I did it. I literally have one note with the correct schedule and then rewrote it and flipped it. Needless to say, next up, Jason Zimmerman from Emory. We'll take a break. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCANABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, as we get rolling along here on this Sunday evening. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. You can email us, hoopsville at D3Hoops.com, or join us on Facebook at Facebook.com/Hoopsville, or we're live streaming the show. Hope you'll enjoy it and chat along. We know we got some questions on there. We'll try and get to everybody. All our guests are live tonight, and we hope you are enjoying this more than you might be enjoying the Oscars. Nothing against the Oscars. I'd rather watch it on speed forward because I don't need to see it all. Anyway, moving on, because we're talking Division III basketball. We are almost midway through the NCAA tournament, and one of the teams that we expected to still be dancing along was certainly from the UAA, as it were. If you're not paying attention, that's because WashU's an outstanding team. They should be playing well. We expect them to be playing well. Why would? Oh wait, they lost. We showed that in the first round, or the first beginning of the show. Emory still dancing in the NCAA tournament and playing some pretty good basketball, though they got a good tough test ahead of them. No surprise there. But what do we expect of all this? Well, joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville Hotline, it's their head coach, Jason Zimmerman. And, Coach, congratulations on where you guys are so far. You've got to be thrilled.
Yeah, really excited about where we are with the team, and excited about the weekend coming up and Friday night, and just continuing to play and get better. And 23-4 with this group of seniors is something that we're very proud of, and something that we're looking forward to try to improve on.
I'll admit, I've had trouble figuring you guys out. Yes, 23-4 is outstanding.
I've heard that. I've heard
Yeah,
that
you
a lot. This
heard
year when
that.
I read your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you've read it. You've tuned in. I know what you've been doing. You've heard it as if someone had told you through the grapevine. I mean, when you look at the beginning of the season, I see a loss to LaGrange 84-78. I see Hampton-Sydney, who had a lousy season, trip you guys up 90-85. I do see good wins. Don't get me wrong. You beat Illinois Wesleyan, and you beat them good, 72-56. And then Wash U got you guys both times, and I watched both games, and I guess maybe I oversold Wash U and undersold you guys a little bit because those games just weren't there. They were double digits. What am I missing? What am I not getting? I know it's always a well-coached team. You're a great coach. We know that. You do well. You get these programs or your programs to do well. But what am I missing about this team that I'm not seeing that's made you guys have such a great season?
Well, obviously, I appreciate you saying that about my coaching ability, but our guys, we have really good players, right? Guys who have been through the process and have been in many games. Win, and they did. It wasn't like that. Like, we had to play for 40 minutes to get that outcome, right? So being familiar was great, but Coach Rogers had their team playing great down the stretch. When we played them early in the year, I thought they were very explosive, and then they were very good on Friday night, and it took us, the whole time, the 40 minutes to try to win that game. So, I think you were talking about with Chuck about New Jersey being nice in March. Well, Atlanta is nice in March, right? So we love hosting the first and second round. We'd love to host the third and fourth round, too, if it ever got a chance, right? So we know it's going to be warm down here, right? So
it's true. Yeah, we don't have any weather problems there. Absolutely.
Right.
Well, that's not entirely true. By the way, for any of you who wonder what happened to the audio, I'm not sure. We must have mispunched something and lost something there from the segment. I apologize. Not sure what you missed, but it's probably a dumb question from me, so we won't worry about it. You had LeTourneau in the second round, and a real tight game there, and I think LeTourneau maybe proved some naysayers wrong about teams out of Texas for sure. Yeah, I wouldn't say you're overly familiar with a fellow South Region opponent there. How did you guys prep for that one? What did you expect, and how did it turn out?
Yeah, I have a great staff. Charlie Kopp, and they had the scout for the first night, and then Kevin Sullivan had the scout for the second night. And so we prep like we do for the UAA weekends, right? So we were ready. We only had one day. We usually have one day in between, but we have that no-day prep for that. And I thought our guys did a good job of getting really familiar with them in that 12 hours that we had. But again, they're very explosive. Like their backcourt can really score. And if you look at their numbers, that's one of those games where you have to play and guard them for 40 minutes, and you never have the game won. We felt like we're controlling the game, and then you look up and you're up 3, and they got guys who are very explosive and can score. So now you got you're in danger of a shot going in. And again, it was a great game. We're very fortunate to win and move on, and we're excited about headed up to Augustana.
Yeah. So speaking of Augustana, you got a little familiarity of being sent to the same part of the country. Maybe that's one thing we can talk to the committee about, is at least putting you guys in a separate bracket. 2 years, of course, last year you went to Hardin-Simmons in the opening weekend. 2 years ago, you were at Augustana, lost to them in the Sweet 16. The year before that, you're at Stevens Point, lost to them in the Sweet 16. The year before that, see if you get the pattern here, folks. They were at Stevens Point, lost in the Elite Eight to Whitewater after upsetting Stevens Point in the previous game. You certainly know this trip to some degree. You know what you guys are expected to do. Does that help in this case, or is it still new because, again, players are rotating in and off of teams?
Yeah, I think it's new. You have a new team every year, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, it's nice for I've been experienced that. My staff, the seniors have been to Augustana. We've been to Stevens Point a couple of times. Great atmospheres in both those places. Great college basketball atmospheres, right? And so it's exciting. It's exciting for our guys to go to those places. And last night I couldn't sleep, so I got to watch some Oshkosh film, and then I really couldn't sleep, right? Because Pat's done a great job with his team, and they're very, very well coached and disciplined, and so we're looking forward to. We've played the host, right? We've gone to Stevens Point and played Stevens Point. We've gone to Augustana, played Augustana, and now we get to go to Augustana and play Oshkosh. I don't know if that's like a prize. Like I just watched the film. And my gosh, they're so talented, and they got guys that really know how to play the game. We're excited about the opportunity, but we're going to have to play as well as we have all year to have a chance to win.
Talking to Jason Zimmerman here, head coach of Emory. Only have a few more minutes, so we'll try and get the next couple of ones in here quick. Led by Roman Williams, 15.5 points a game. Doesn't even start a majority of the games. He's coming off the bench for you. Adam Gigax, the second guy on your team who a lot of people expected to have a good season, 14 points a game. Christopher Avant, 12 points and 7 rebounds for you. Gabriel Bately, 11 points. That's 4 guys in double figures, plus Matt David at 8.5 and Bo Bomarito at 7.5. You got a lot of options offensively for a team scoring 82.5 points a game.
Yeah, I think this team has done a great job of really connecting. Right, we have 4 seniors that have done a great job for us for 4 years. We have 2 juniors that start for us, and they've really gotten into their roles and understood their roles and are playing their roles great. Jabario and Bo are playing great. And then we have some freshmen coming off the bench, but everybody's just really fit into their role. And on a given night, if Adam Gigax is not making shots, Roman can make shots, and Matt Davitt can make shots, and Whit Rapp kind of directs the whole thing. So I think the pieces really fit this year, which has been fun. It's been fun for me to coach them. It's been fun because we've had a new group of guys that have, infused some energy to guys who are really experienced, and the practice competition this year has been phenomenal. Like some days I come home from practice And I just have to laugh because I said, man, that's as good a practice we've had. And we've been pretty successful the last couple of years. So it's been a really fun group to coach because of those pieces that you talked about.
Well, it's certainly been fun to watch, though at the same time perplexing because, again, I don't know what I'm missing. And I'm, at least I'll admit it. Look forward to seeing what you guys do in Augustana. You point out Oshkosh is a tough team. I know you've only watched a little bit of tape. Maybe that's why, as you said, you were still up. You shouldn't have turned their game on. You got a little bit more time to enjoy this. As always, though, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Yeah, I just want to thank you for the support you give Division III basketball and everybody that works for D3 Hoops. What they do for our level, and we don't have to beg people to come out and watch. Right, we're at a good level. Larry said, this is a good product, and when people come out and watch, they want to come back. They see some special kids on the court that really inspire me every day, and I think when people come to watch us play and our level play, they see the same thing. But you do a great job of getting that out there to people who really want to see it and want to follow. So we really appreciate all you do.
Well, thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. I have to retract. I do have one last question, but it's not from me. It's
Absolutely.
from Peyton. I don't know where this is going, but he asks. He says he thinks fans would be interested in hearing the benefits of the quality of connection and communication throughout the year with his head coach as a player at Davidson, Bob McKillop, and fellow Davidson alum, Swarthmore head coach Landry Kozmowski, and Elon head coach Matt Matheny. What is that like versus any other coaching connection you may have?
Yeah, Coach McHugh's a special guy. He's a really special coach, special person. And, of course, Landry played for Coach, but I coached Landry when I was at Davidson. And, there's a lot of contact there between Landry and myself, Coach McKillop, Coach Matheny. I think it's like any coaching tree Coach McKillop has. We talk to each other often. And when we talk, the same vocabulary, right? So it's easy for us to understand what the other guy's going through with the vocabulary and the mentorship that Coach McKillop's given us. And, it's just like you lean on your friends, right? Yeah. And those guys are really special guys. And Landry's done a heck of a job at Swarthmore. I've really enjoyed watching him. And, same thing when also like Chris Murphy at Union had a great year this year. He's on my staff. Chris McHugh had a great year at Washington and Lee. And those guys, there's other guys in the profession I'm leaving now, but there's other guys that we talk to. That communication just really helps you sometime when they know what you need to hear, right? So sometimes people don't call you after you lose, right? Mm-hmm. Those guys always call you after you lose because they know they want to talk to you, and they're special people, and I really enjoy speaking with them. And I don't know what Peyton's getting at. You got to be careful when you ask a question that Peyton asked.
Yeah, I figured as much.
But no, those guys are just special people, and we really enjoy talking. I really enjoy talking to them. I don't know if they enjoy talking to me or not, but I really enjoy talking to them.
It's all in the eyes of the beholder, Coach.
That's right.
Well, thanks so much for humoring us and Peyton. I appreciate it. Good luck this weekend, as I said. Look forward to running into you sometime in the near future, and safe travels especially.
Thanks, Dave. Talk soon.
Absolutely. Take care. He is Jason Zimmerman from Emory. We haven't had Emory on the show in a couple of years, which seemed odd to me. Maybe our archives are wrong. It's very likely, but I always enjoy talking to Jason Zimmerman. Should have him on more often. We're going to take a very quick break. We're behind schedule, but I got to do a quick thing behind the scenes. Accidentally hit stop on the simulcast on Facebook. It's the way it's set up. I hate it. The chat and the end broadcast thing should not be next to each other. Anyway, so your stream, you're going to see a brief break, and then it's going to come back. Don't worry. Stick with it. If you're on YouTube, stick with it. If you're listening to the podcast, just ignore 90% of what I'm saying because it really doesn't apply to you. Going to be back in a moment. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCANABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
Great moments. Now go out there and take it.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, and I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. A few technical glitches behind the scenes. This is why we need to get interns and production people and a lot of others. Running the show by yourself is not as easy as it's made out to be. If you got questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville at d3hoops.com. Join us on Facebook, facebook.com/Hoopsville. Lots of ways you can get in touch with us. We hope you will find a way to do it, interact with the show. We also apologize to those of you who may be back listening to us on Facebook Live. Apologize for that. Jason says, between the weather and the early start time, how does the crowd and atmosphere at the York Yeshiva game on Friday? I'll talk about the York Yeshiva game coming up. I got a couple thoughts on it. You kind of hit on one of them. All right, so let's keep going. We're behind schedule. One of the other programs as we switch into women's basketball had a lot of high expectations all season this year has been Christopher Newport. Started in the top 5 in the preseason. Lost 4 games this season, including 2 to Marymount. What do we expect? Well, they're back to the second round of the NCAA tournament. That's what we should expect. After losing 2 games late in the year, they beat Haverford and Randolph-Macon somewhat easily, at least in the Randolph-Macon game, to advance. Their reward is they're going to take on Hope at Hope. What does it all mean? Well, joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville hotline, it's their head coach, Bill Broderick. And, Coach, thanks once again for returning to the show, and congratulations.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Listen, expectations have been high all season. I saw you guys in the very first weekend, which is why I think for some reason I thought I had you on the show this year. Saw you early on. You had a pretty good team, though a little bit young. You have had to go through injuries. The expectations put a nice large target on your back. And I have a feeling Thomas More game was maybe a little bit of a wake-up call. And then Marymount tripped you guys up twice this season. What kind of season was it from your vantage point?
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think based on what we did last year, obviously the expectations were pretty high coming out of the gate, and then just kind of those injuries started to roll, and so we were playing without 3 or 4 of our top 6 for a while, and then we lost our preseason All-American for 10 games in the middle of the season, and so it's just kind of one of those things where, we said, all right, we're not really going to worry about these expectations and really just try to, continue to take it one game at a time. And so, I'm really, really happy about where we are. The goal obviously is always to be playing your best basketball at the end of the year. And, we definitely had some tough losses around that last week of the season, but I really, really like the way this group is responding. We do have some good young players, but we also have a lot of veterans back as well. So I think that experience is really helping us and really helped us this past weekend at Randolph-Macon against 2 really good teams and in front of just an electric crowd on Saturday. So just really, really proud of the ladies and what they've done so far.
Yeah, you took on Bobby Morgan's squad in Haverford out of the Centennial, which has been a tough conference this year, beat them by 13. Then took on the Kelly Williams-led Randolph-Macon squad and beat them by nearly 30. Bill, did you understand who the sophomore was inside? And I'll be honest, how did you guys beat them so successfully when they have such a scoring threat inside, and because of that, they can easily dump it outside for some scoring threats?
Yeah, I mean, I think first, Coach Morgan does an unbelievable job with her team, and we knew, obviously that was going to be a really, really a contrast of styles. Both of us being really good defensively, but, them being more of a shutdown team in the half court, and us being a little bit more up tempo. And so we knew we were going to have our hands full, and they played us really down to the end. And I thought coming out for the Randolph-Macon game, I just thought we started off a little bit slower against Haverford the night before. Even though you've been there, you still some first game jitters, and I think that was the same for us. But, I think we had a little bit more experience in their team, even though they had some juniors and seniors. They hadn't quite been in the tournament for a while, and so I think we were able to really come out and and Kelly Williams, I mean, she's a phenomenal player. And also Charlotte Woods, I mean, they've got 2 post players that average double-doubles. And so we knew we were going to have our hands full. And so, we tried to just run a lot of different bodies at them and just really tried to play our game and switch a lot of defenses and do some different things. And so I think eventually we were able to wear them down a little bit and use our depth and kind of pull away for a pretty good win at the end.
So you're moving on to the second weekend to a familiar kind of setup here. You'll take on Hope, though Thomas More is kind of a part of the equation here. I kind of remember this program maybe making its first initial splash under your leadership in a game that forced some decisions to be made. I think they flew everybody to the West Coast because you were more than 500 miles from Thomas More. I think Thomas More doesn't want to see you then. I'm surprised you played them this year. I say that tongue-in-cheek. What do you expect? This is going to be I mean, all 4 women's pods are going to be bruisers, but this one really is with Hope and Thomas More and yourselves, and this is going to be anything but easy.
Yeah, looking at it, you try to just, try to get out of that first weekend and not look ahead. But we knew, once we got a chance to get through and Saturday evening, you kind of look at it and, it was really pick your poison. Do you go to Hope or do you go to, you go to number 4 or do you go to number 3? And so, I mean, it really, it doesn't get easy either way. But I think at this point, there's only 16 teams left in the country playing. Everybody is really good. You've got to play, everybody eventually. And so, I obviously would much rather be playing at Thomas More right now, just try to at least have a neutral game for the first game. But it is what it is. I think Hope was top team in their region. They've earned it. And so we know we're going to have our hands full. We faced them last year in the Sweet 16 after they knocked off Thomas More at their place. So this is kind of a rematch game. But I guess those happen sometimes.
Yeah, especially in Division III, we only have so much. But also the top half of Division III is so loaded, as it were. You're going to run into some really good games at some point. Hey, little note. The program now has 25 NCAA tournament victories. More than half, 13 of them, have come under your tenure. What does that mean to you for the program that you have helped develop, that now CNU women's basketball is not only in the national conversation, but we kind of expect you to make deep runs in the NCAA tournament too?
Yeah, I think what that means to me is that I've had the pleasure of coaching a lot of good players. I've had a lot of good assistant coaches, and I think we've had a lot of people on the same page. I think, when we came in, there was definitely a style and a direction that I wanted to go in. And I really found a great group of young ladies to buy into what we were doing, even though it was a little unconventional. Some great coaches. And I think the other thing is, get a lot of good support from our administration, from our president. And so when you've got all those things, they make you look pretty good.
Well, it's amazing that they bought in because you really play a very different style. How significant was the injury to Porter, and how did you guys able to get around that? And have you become better as a result of that to some degree?
Yeah, I think the tough thing was, the game after she went out, and what a lot of people don't realize is because I know, Sam gets a lot of the headlines for us, if any one person does. But also Anitra Thomas, who's one of our top shooters, in the same game, Sam broke her wrist and Anitra broke her nose. Oh. So we lost 2 of our top 6 players in one game. And then, of course, the next day, or 2 days later, we had to go to Marymount to play Marymount. And so now they played well, and they definitely deserved to beat us. But it was definitely, our first game and trying to figure things out a little bit, moving some people around. But I agree with you where I definitely think it helped us to get better. I think Micah Maloney, a sophomore for us, was kind of forced into a role that she wasn't, initially in. And she's done an amazing job the second half of the season. And then, Madison Howdyshell and Jasmine Bonneville really got a chance to play a lot of minutes. And so I think what it's done is, our depth has always been one of our strong points. And I think what it did was, rather than going 12 or 13 deep, now we go 14, 15 deep. And so it's really, really improved our depth and has really given some good experience to some other players.
I know this is synonymous with your team, but to give everybody a sense of the uniqueness and how you go really deep, and you're not a system team, but you score 77 points a game. You have one player in double figures. It's Sam, but she's barely there at 10.2. You play a whole host of players in a game. You rotate a ton, but it's really defensively minded, not offensively minded.
Yeah, I think, the things that I've realized in my few years in coaching is that, the defense and rebounding are the 2 things that you can really control every night. And so you can't control nights when they're going to go in and, those things. So I really wanted to try to kind of base our style around defense and rebounding. And then, and realize in my first year, we had some injuries and our depth was, really, really bad. And, I knew that if one person here or there went out, we really would have been in trouble. And so I think at this point, I wanted to make sure that we were never in that situation and that, if somebody gets hurt or someone decides not to play anymore or they transfer or whatever goes on, because, what I didn't realize with, most of my experience at the Division I level before I came to CNU is, you really just recruited the holes that you had. And so for me, that was really hard to get used to because, you almost feel disloyal, recruiting people in a position when you already have people there. And I learned very quickly that Division III is very different and that, kids don't come back for different reasons, whether it be money or, getting a job or whatever. And so, you learn those things and try to be a little bit smarter each year. And so I really felt like if we could try to have where, we at least can have that depth where if someone goes down, I think the other thing that people realize is, there's really, Sam gets a lot of headlines, but we've won games where, she's had 2 points or 3 points. So we don't rely on any one person for scoring. And I think the hardest thing is really finding young ladies that, and players at all these days that buy into that. Because there's so many people that, whether it's coming from their AAU team and their high school team and, everybody's all, state or all conference or all something that, they just have a hard time really putting that ego aside. And, we try not to play anybody more than 25 minutes a game. We only had 2 players average over 20 minutes at all in a game. So, it's definitely unique, but it's been successful for us, and kids have really bought into it. And, when you recruit to it, I think it's helped us to be pretty effective. Earlier
in the week, Marymount, along with 6 other schools, announced finally, 9 months after we broke the story, that they were leaving for the Atlantic East Conference. You did lose 2 or 3 this year. You're not going to miss Marymount, are you?
You say that, but I think
you'll miss the competition.
We will, absolutely. We'll miss the competition. I think the other thing is we're kind of out here on the beach. So when you're out here on the beach, there's, there are not too many teams that are close. So, they're within 3 hours and, and they've been a good rival. They do a great job. I knew Coach Finney many years ago, and really started that program, and they've just been a powerhouse ever since. And so, I think we'll definitely miss the competition. I think as a conference, we'll miss that strength of schedule. Knowing that, in the past we've had at least 3. This year we had 2, but we've had 3. And I was telling teams you look at last year, Marymount finished 3rd in our league, but still ended up in the Sweet 16. And so, that just really shows the strength. And, so we'll add for this first year, we'll have 8 teams for probably the next 2 years. And then, we're hoping to add 2, 3, 4 more teams. But, we'll add some other tough teams as well. We've already scheduled, for next year. We're going to play Emory and Henry. We're going to play Lynchburg. We're going to play Randolph-Macon. So we're talking with Messiah. So, we're going to try to really find and schedule as tough as we can for next year, even though we will lose 7 seniors and we'll be extremely young. But at least they'll be battle-tested before we get to the conference.
Friend you probably know, Ronk, says he sends his best wishes to Jace. I can't say her last name.
DeGiel.
DeGiel, really?
Yeah.
I wasn't even on that road. Duguilh, and it's DeGiel. That's I love
DeGiel.
it. But that one's going to remember. He at least says congratulations to you guys. I know he's in the ear of a lot of you, but I know you also end up getting pretty good talent out of Ronk's work.
Absolutely.
Hey, Coach, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. As always, as we give the coach the final word, any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in? David, just really want to thank you and your staff for all you do for Division III sports, and especially, obviously, for Division III women's basketball. And really just wish everybody the best of luck in the Sweet 16, and that we have some great games and really show and highlight all that we've got at Division III women's basketball. Terrific. Well said. Congratulations again, but good luck this weekend and hope. We're looking forward to seeing the games out there, and we'll talk to you soon, okay?
All right. Thanks again, dude.
Absolutely. Bill Broderick joining us from the Christopher Newport. And the captains, I should say, playing very well. Ladies are not off to, but we're at a 25-4 mark here. They'll take on Hope, who's also having a pretty darn good season at 28-1. All the games at this point are good. That weekend out at Hope should be really good. Fascinating to see how it all works out. We're going to take another break. We're supposed to talk to Gustavus Adolphus' head coach, but we're having trouble finding out the contact information, to be honest. So we're going to punt and talk to Carla Berube from Tufts, and in the meantime work to find the contact information to get Coach Kelly on the show. Hope you can follow along. It's one of those nights. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCANABC Studios. When we return, Carla Berube from Tufts. We'll be back with more after this.
College basketball lives in Kansas City at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center. The College Basketball Experience is the place to get your game on. It's not a museum, it's an experience you won't forget. Discover the history of the game in the National Collegiate Basketball Hall of Fame, featuring the Gallery of Honor, Mentor Circle, and Honor Theater. Suit up in the latest CBE logoed Nike gear at the CBE Hoop Shop. Elevate your game today and visit the house that college basketball built.
For the love of the game. But for those of us who are Division III student athletes, it's more than that. A lot more.
Sure, the game is important. But as we work so hard to build both mind and body, it's more about team.
That is why NCAA Division III teamed up with Special Olympics. And in giving the gift of sport to those for whom it seemed an impossible dream, we are working to make this a better world.
Help us keep that dream alive.
You can make a difference.
This is why we love sports. It's in the way they play, free from the pressures and all the money talk. Playing for simply the love of the game, where everyone has a shot at their definition of success on and off the field. This is what we love about sports, and what we can still love about college sports.
It starts right when you hit the court. You imagine your finest moment. The game-winning shot that gets you to the dance, a monster dunk or no-look pass, and cutting down the net. Sports lets us dream of our own success and prepare us for our finest moments on and off the court.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
Welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody, on this Sunday evening. Some technical glitches tonight. We've just been having moments. We've flopped coaches at MIT before Emory when we were supposed to go the other way around. We accidentally stopped the simulcast early tonight, and now we're trying to get a hold of one of our coaches. We were going to talk to Gustavus head coach, Coach Kelly, here in this segment, a little bit late as we've been moving along, but we were having trouble getting a hold of her. It's more on my end. Don't take it as a slight that we having trouble that's on their end. Don't worry. But we are going to try and get her on the other side of things. In the meantime, we're going to talk to Tufts women's coach Carla Berube. We talked to them in the preseason when they were the preseason #1 team. Interesting season for the Jumbos. Of course, ran into Amherst twice and lost 2 huge battles with them, but also lost to Albright in a surprise right around Christmas, and then lost to Bowdoin on the other side of the New Year. Maybe not as well. I don't know what it means. Certainly the NESCAC got better, but joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville hotline to hopefully put it all together for us is head coach Carla Berube. And, Coach, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. 25-4, your preseason #1. I wouldn't say you had a bad season by any stretch of the imagination, but you certainly maybe didn't have the season you probably had drawn up in your head. Is that a fair way of saying it, or did we miss something?
I'm not sure I drew up the #1 ranking to start the season.
Fair.
You and your friends drew that up. But I think we had a lot of work to do. I think I said it on our call in November that, we had to kind of reinvent ourselves a little bit from having, a 6'2" center for the last 6 years from Haley Canner and Michaela North, and and just kind of figure out who we were and put some things together and develop a chemistry on the court and developing that chemistry off the court. And, I think we've just been building the whole way, and, a few losses along the way, but here we are in the Sweet 16. So I can't be too mad about those.
No, you can't, especially when you get to host the opening weekend of the tournament as well, and beat Westfield State and then Ithaca, and somewhat handily in both. Though you got a great tournament ahead of you here. You got Messiah coming up on the 9th on Friday's game, and you'll be playing them, at Scranton, if memory serves, and with Bowdoin on the other side of that. Let me go backwards a little bit here. Listen, the Amherst games, they lived up to what we all expected, though I think maybe the February 2nd game was a little higher scoring than we all expected. The championship game was right about what we all thought that would play to. But earlier in the season, Albright got you guys 62-59 on the other side of the holiday break for you guys, and then Bowdoin caught you about a week later. Was that a little bit of the holiday slumber, as it were, and getting the legs back under you? Granted, good teams nonetheless, but what might have happened there?
Well, Albright is a very talented team, and I thought they played very well, and we had a 3-week hiatus, but I don't consider that an excuse. I think they just outplayed us, and then going up to Bowdoin, that's a really a difficult place to play against an extremely talented team, and Coach Scheibels does a tremendous job with them, and so those were just two really good teams that we came up against, and I think we were still figuring out who we were, and I think we played some pretty undisciplined basketball in that time frame, a lot of fouling, and but I think we've grown a lot from that time, and we've run a lot of shell drill to clean that up. So and those Amherst battles are just Amherst battles. So I feel like it's always going to happen, and but I think we came out of both of those games knowing that we're right there with them and with the number one team in the country.
Were you surprised that Bowdoin got into the mix like they did? They had a great start to the season, but I think a lot of us thought, okay, about midway through the season they're going to get into NESCAC play and this equation is going to change. But if anything, they got even better. Were you in the NESCAC surprised at what Coach Scheibels' team was able to put together this season, or did you kind of see this one coming?
Yeah, not surprised at all. I mean, you saw that they knocked off the Tommies at the beginning of the season, and they just have a deep, talented team, and they play really hard. They defend and they press, and they can really score the basketball. So it wasn't surprising. They've always been at the top of the NESCAC since I started in the NESCAC, and before that, that's a storied program. So, not surprising at all.
Talking about your team, of course, we knew you were going to have a good unit. We knew it was going to be defensively minded, and we knew it was going to circle and basically go through Melissa Baptista, 13 points a game, 6.5 rebounds a game. Even a steal and a half a game to go along with nearly 2 blocks a game. We know that she's the bread and butter, as it were, to this. But there's so many other contributors to this team. We just got done talking to Coach Broderick at CNU. They score 77 some odd points a game. They have one player who's barely in double figures. You guys score 66 points a game. You got 3 players in double figures, and plus others who are contributing. It's not just the Baptista show.
No, it's definitely not. I think we are pretty balanced, and we don't go as deep as CNU, but we have some good contributors off the bench. Our leading scorer on Friday night was a guard off the bench. So Melissa is she definitely there's a lot of attention towards Melissa in games. So I think it opens up some scoring opportunities for others. I think Erica DiCandido has really stepped up her game from freshman year to now her sophomore year. She was actually out 5 games during the NESCAC season, and so that hurt us a little bit. But she's back now and playing really well. And Jack Knapp's done a terrific job for us, and Lauren Dillon, our point guard and leader, and just other players stepped up. Freshman starts for us, Emily Briggs. So I think it's pretty balanced. I don't think you can just focus on one or two of our players. Someone else is gonna step up.
You're sitting again, going to be heading out to Scranton. If memory serves, you've gone down this road before. Am I correct? I think I remember a trip to Scranton a few years ago. Kind of worked out well.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago, we were down there. So we know that area in the gym, and we came away from Scranton, heading to the Final Four. But it's a tough place to play. They get an incredible crowd, and but we're taking on Messiah to start, and how about those 3 programs, Messiah, Scranton, and Bowdoin? There's a lot of great history with those programs, so it's a great pod, and we're just really excited to be heading there in a couple days.
Yeah, that really is an historic pod, to say the least. And another one, Hope, Christopher Newport, Thomas More, not too bad. Of course, Amherst is on the other side of this, but again, Messiah, Bowdoin, and Scranton, this is not that they're ever easy. I don't want anybody to assume that, but it is really going to be a tough test. What's going to be the secret, or at least the the key for you guys to make sure to get through this weekend? Is it going to be the defense? Is it going to be maybe the offense? Or is it even as something as maybe off the wall as injuries or lack thereof?
I think for us, it's always the defense, and and we've got a lot of work to do. My staff and myself of just watching film and getting prepared. Luckily, we're going to work on Messiah, but you need to be prepared for all three teams, and we know Bowdoin pretty well, so we don't have to work too hard on that. But yeah, I think it's just us staying true to who we are. We're not going to play outside of ourselves. We're going to hopefully, defend for 40 minutes and hopefully our defense fuels our offense. And, we have players that'll make plays and, just looking forward to the opportunity to play again and hopefully, play some of the best basketball of our season. That's what your goal is, to be, playing at the highest level right now.
I know you'd love to be playing at home for a lot of reasons: familiarity with your room, the bed you're sleeping in, not having to worry about particulars like getting on a bus just to go get a meal or whatever the case may be. However, is there an advantage ever of going on the road at the same time, especially when the pressure is high?
Yeah, I think it's great. You're together the whole time, and and there's not a lot of outside distractions, and it's tough. I'm a mother of two, so it's tough being away from the family, but then it's just being with the team and just focusing on the task at hand. I'm sure the team will be studying a lot, and I've got to proctor some exams, but it is fun to be on the road and to at a place like at Scranton too, where Dave Martin does a tremendous job with the tournament there. So just looking forward to being together.
You didn't need to give Dave Martin a shout out. I mean, he didn't.
Love Dave Martin.
Yeah, we didn't need to do that. Now I'm going to get a text from him saying, "See," and now I'm going to have to deal with Dave. No, I kid. Dave Martin's a great guy for Division III. I agree with you entirely. And of course, Trevor Woodruff in the Scranton squad. But that's not your first deal. It is Messiah. Quickly before we let you go, your thoughts on Messiah? What have you seen? If you've seen anything, I don't blame you if you've given yourself a 24-hour break.
Sundays are for the family, Dave. So
that's why I
haven't. But that's why I have really great assistant coaches who I'm sure have been watching a lot of film. I know they're strong. I know they have some great inside play, and we played them back in 2008 when we made our first run in the NCAA tournament, and they beat us in the Elite Eight down there. So it's exciting to be playing them again.
Well, I wish you luck. It's certainly been a fascinating season. I almost feel like you've, as a result, kind of flown onto the radar a little bit. Not that that's a bad thing necessarily.
Okay, yeah.
We appreciate you taking the time to join us and chat with us. And by the way, I don't vote on the women's poll, just for the record. But I probably would have put you number one, too, so I'll take the blame. As always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Yeah, just a shout-out to my good friend Sonia Rahman and the MIT women's basketball team that won the NUMAC championship this year for the first time ever. And again, Dave, I always, we're very, very appreciative of all the work you do, putting, D3 women and men on the map. And it's great how many, actually Division I coaches, contact me, just reading about D3 hoops and hearing from you. So it's out there, and people really listen and appreciate it.
Well, thank you. That's nice to hear. Mm-hmm. I appreciate it, especially the D1 side. That'll catch you off guard a little bit every once in a while. Enjoyed seeing you when we were in Indy. I hope to see you sometime in the near future. Enjoy the trip to Scranton. Maybe it'll get you away from the storm. I know you guys had to deal with one there just the other day.
Oof, lot of wind.
Yeah. I hope you're okay. I hope everybody in your area is okay with after that one.
We're all okay.
Good. Thanks again for your time. Good luck. Take care, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
Absolutely. Carla Berube joining us from Tufts. 25-4, taking on that oh-so-tough Messiah squad. Yeah, I mean, that's a great pod, is it not? Yeah, I know we could always talk about, oh, gee, it's too bad they're playing at such and such. Listen, the top of the women's game has gotten deeper, and so we got good teams now far deeper in the rankings, as it were, or in the tournament. But look at that, the Scranton history, the Bowdoin history, the Messiah history, and the Tufts history, all there in Scranton. If you are anywhere near Scranton or just feel like making a trip of it, please go to Scranton. See some basketball. I'll also say go to Waverly, Iowa to see Wartburg Trine, ETBU St. Thomas. Go to Holland, Michigan. See Hope Christopher Newport, Thomas More Gustavus. Or go to Amherst. See Amherst Montclair. That should be a great game. And Rochester Tech. That's just unfortunate. But these are good games, and I encourage you to go out there and see them. All right, we're making a last-ditch effort to try and get Gustavus head coach Laurie Kelly on the show. This happens from time to time. When teams are traveling and I'm solo, we just didn't get the confirmation information as to where she is. We will fight for it. Even if it means as we're wrapping up the show, I see it and we go to it as soon as we can. We will find a way to get Gustavus as head coach on the show. If we don't, we will find a way to get her on the show at a later date. We will take a break. When we come back, thoughts on Yeshiva. They're multi-pronged on Yeshiva, by the way. If I can remember them all. I'm literally writing down one note and then other note. We'll talk about Yeshiva, we'll talk about the tournaments, and we'll talk about plenty of others and answer any last-minute questions you may have for us. Daryl Duncan says, great show. Any upsets in the Sweet 16 weekend on the men's side? I can talk about it, and we'll see what might come of it. You listen to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCANABC Studios. More Hoopsville after this.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and I know how powerful words can be. The term gay doesn't mean stupid, lame, or less than.
So I pledge to speak up if I hear the term gay used in a derogatory way or any other homophobic terms.
If you can play in Division III.
I'm a Division III student athlete, and my teammates unconditionally accepted me as part of their family. So now I pledge to do the same for others. If you can play in Division III.
I used to never really talk. Ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else is speechless.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Division III allows you to give yourself to other things.
Having that free time allows me to pursue the things that I want to pursue.
Division III athletics affords students the opportunity to, engage in the other interests in their campus and in their lives outside of that sport.
It allows you to just be able to do everything you want to do. I wouldn't change it for the world.
Great moments are born from great opportunity. That's what you have here tonight. That's what you've earned here tonight. This is your time. Now go out there and take it.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I play because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
Something I discovered in myself is that if I have a goal, I can accomplish it.
It's a well-rounded experience.
At a Division III school, you primarily a student athlete, so the school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual.
It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
I used to never really talk, ever. I was afraid if I said something wrong, everyone would laugh at me. But then I started to play golf with Special Olympics. It helped me to find my voice. And now everyone else...
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III.
I did receive academic scholarships. Just being involved on campus, being a leader, all those things combined kind of get me recognized. It's a great experience for me.
My name is Marcus Walker. I was All-State, won a state championship, a high school All-American, and played college and pro ball. I played because I love the game. I grind to be the best. I sweat because I put in work. I'm strong because I believe. When I want to bring it before game time, I come to the house that college basketball built, the CBE. No matter your skill, take it to another level. Elevate your game right here at the College Basketball Experience at Sprint Center.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
Oh, we're going to cut the commercial off. We were running a little long because we got Coach Kelly. We were trying to set up some things to get her on, but didn't work. But you know what? We've got her anyway. It all works out. Sometimes that's the fun of all this, folks. We've got Coach Kelly. We'll tweet out the fact we have her. Sorry for the long break, but geez, if you listen to normal talk radio show, the break I just gave you is shorter than they normally handle. So I hope you aren't complaining too much. All right, so listen, the Gusties of women's basketball. The Gustavus Adolphus had a tremendous season. I got a ton of questions from some fans going, "Hey, are they going to make the tournament?" And I was a little nervous. I'll be honest. I didn't know if they'd make the tournament as an at-large, but they got all the way to the championship game, lost to St. Thomas. That was huge. Then they defeated Rose-Hulman, who I thought was a darn good team this season, handed them their 4th loss of the year. Then they upset Whitewater by 14. They're on to the tournament. Their reward, they get to take on Thomas More. But right now, I don't think Coach Kelly cares about that. Joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville Hotline, it is Coach Kelly from Gustavus Adolphus. And, Coach, welcome to the show. Congratulations, and welcome to the Sweet 16 as well.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here, let me tell you.
I understand entirely for a lot of reasons. I appreciate you taking time out of your night, too. I know there's a family thing going on, so I appreciate it. First and foremost, you guys had a heck of a season, but you were buried a little bit by St. Thomas and Bethel and everything else going on in the MIAA. But you make the right run at the right time, build your resume, look where you are, you get the chance in the tournament, and heck of a first-round win just for starters.
Thanks. I mean, I feel like coming from the NCAA tournament last year, our schedule wasn't as strong, although we had more wins. We didn't play as good a competition as we did this year, and with as many returners as we had coming back, really felt that we needed to put ourselves in a situation to play some stronger opponents. So, ironically, we had gone down to Wartburg and played with Superior and ourselves and Whitewater.
Yeah.
And here we fast forward to March, and there the three of us are with Rose-Hulman back together again in the first and second round of the tournament.
Yeah, deja vu all over again.
Yeah, I think like every team, like you have your ups and downs throughout the season. That 2-point loss at Bethel was not a great performance for us, and that was a tough loss for us to take. And we've been in it with St. Thomas back and forth, but haven't been able to to knock them off. So I think the MIAC being as strong as it was. You think about it, in our last 2.5 weeks, we played St. Thomas, who's nationally ranked. We played St. Ben's twice, who's nationally ranked. We played Rose-Hulman, who's nationally ranked. And now we just played Whitewater, who is number 1 in the region and nationally ranked. So in the last 2.5 weeks, we've played 5 nationally ranked teams. And I thought that was a huge advantage for us going against Rose-Hulman, who really hadn't played anybody at that caliber since December. And, so I think it really helped prepare us for what we saw this weekend in 2 quality in teams like Rose-Hulman and for sure for Whitewater.
Yeah, definitely. I think you got something there. And to some extent, the HCAC hasn't been the most competitive conference necessarily. It's been good, but it hasn't been as good as maybe preparing them. And you did. You have the MIAC that has been certainly challenging on a long ways. And that's why I said I thought the St. Thomas going undefeated was more impressive than anything, because there were losses to be had in that conference this year.
Yeah, credit to them. They played Augsburg, and Augsburg, it's crazy. Augsburg's up 3 with the ball, and 20 seconds to go. They were in a situation that it was, anybody would have put their money on. They're at the free throw line shooting true free throws, and you're thinking, oh my gosh, Augsburg's gonna get that win, and things just fell the wrong way and ended up hitting a 3 with 2 seconds to go. With 0.3 seconds to go, St. Thomas ends up winning it in overtime. So it's a credit to Ruth and her program. When you've had that kind of success, I think you kind of walk into every game really feeling confident and composed and thinking that you can do it. And to have 2 MIAC teams left in the last 16 it's a credit to our league, and I think it says a lot about the people that we play week in and week out, and it's great representation of what we feel like our league can offer.
Did you feel pressure going into that last week, though, that you needed to do something to better your regional ranking position? Because admittedly, you were kind of low in the rankings, and I was worried you were going to get stuck behind a couple teams and never get to the table. I felt like you needed to get to that championship game to some degree, and some other help.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I look at our resume and I say, what, we went on the road and played really good teams. We've lost to St. Thomas, who's in the top 10 in the country, and we lost to Wartburg on a neutral court, lost to Whitewater in December on a neutral court. I think the Bethel lost by 2 at their place, but then turned around and beat them by double-digit figures later. I thought, and then even the Benz. It's a 3-point game with 2 minutes to go. We hadn't lost at St. Ben's in 5 years, and everyone was saying that we might be out, and we came back up in the playoffs, and we started really. I think we've just been fortunate to start playing really good basketball at just the right time, because I believe the Whitewater was our best team win that we've had. Our team is playing really confident. We're playing strong defensively, and I feel like we're just fortunate and very lucky to be playing good basketball at a time that you're really hoping to do that. And being a player that has won a national championship in Division III. Looking at my college coach, who I respect a lot, he said, the best team doesn't always win. It takes some luck. The other best advice I got is, no matter what you do, enjoy the journey. And right now it's icing on the cake. We wanted to win to make the tournament. We made the tournament. Then we really wanted to win a game. We hadn't been successful. We've only won 1 of 6 games in our program in the NCAA tournament. We wanted to break through and get that win. We got the first road win ever in the history of our program in the NCAA tournament. So then when we went into Whitewater, it was kind of like, hey, let's see what we can do. And it was a great game. It was a quality opponent. They're a great program, and we feel just fortunate to have played a really good game that night. And here we are still dancing.
Oh, you are still dancing. You're on to the Sweet 16, if you hadn't gotten the memo yet. Just in case. I figured I'd announce it for you.
Thank you.
And you're no problem. And I know you're traveling, so I figured I'd also let you know you're headed to Holland, Michigan. Yeah, things you already knew. We know
a pretty nice facility over there, so we're looking forward to getting up there.
Not too shabby. It's okay. Yeah. It's all right. It's all right. Of course, you'll take on Thomas More.
Yeah.
You know Thomas More. Everyone knows Thomas More.
Yeah.
What do you make of it? I get to some degree from you guys. It's like, yeah, just another opponent. We've been down this road, but at the same time, you're now, and I don't want to say you don't deserve to be there or anything like that. Just don't take it the wrong way. But I mean, you're now in the big boy league as it is. We're now at the level where everybody is darn good.
They are, yeah. It's funny. You watch I love college basketball, men and women, and when I'm not watching my opponents or my team, I'm watching other people, and it's fun. This is the time of March. I said to my team that when you're 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 years old, and you're starting to play for the first time, and you're out in your backyard, and you're pretending that last free throw or that last shot is to win the big game. I mean, these are the moments. October 15th, when everybody stepped on the court. 97% of all those people are not doing that anymore, and we are fortunate to get to do that on Monday. And I think that you have to look and say, everyone is good, but if you played somebody 100 times, it could only win once. It just needs to be that night, and that's the fun of college March basketball. Thomas More's a phenomenal team. I mean, their history, their program, I mean, they score a lot of points, but we just have to play for 40 minutes, and I think that we're in a good place just feeling that we're happy where we're at. We're enjoying this journey, and we're going to play the best basketball game we can. And if that's good enough to move us on, we're excited about that. And if it's not, then we're going to feel very fortunate for what we were able to accomplish this season.
Well, I mean, you can build from this no matter what happens on Friday or whatever happens on Saturday. Or heck, if you're lucky enough to get to the – you still can build on this. The MIAA has been building for a couple of years. This used to be the St. Thomas show. We didn't talk about anybody else in the conference. I think it was maybe 2 years ago, but especially last year, we started talking about the depth. You guys are part of that now, and I'm assuming you're noticing it in recruiting, and the conversations have probably changed as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, if there's any D1 prospects out there that are looking to come to D3, I mean, we would love them to look at St. Peter, Minnesota. But, I mean, it's fun. I mean, I'll be honest, every player dreams. I'm a kid from Rochester, Minnesota. The Final Four is in Mayo Civic, where my high school career ended. Wow. I've played game after game in there. I'm from there. My family's from there.
Mayo Center, Coach. Mayo Center.
Yeah. You walk into Mayo Civic, or is that what it's called? Mayo Center now. You walk in there, and I was there for a Christmas tournament. I was sitting there with my mom and dad and my family watching my daughter, who's a 9th grader on the high school team, playing in the Christmas tournament. And I thought to myself, could you imagine a team from Minnesota with all these southern Minnesota kids, what you would be like to walk in here and be in a Final Four. And, that dream for us is still alive. I mean, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, you still get to think every day now that that's still a possibility. Mm-hmm. And that's the really fun part right now with the team. It's
really a shame that you guys aren't having any fun whatsoever.
You got to have moments like this because it's long hours and long days, and you're away from your family a lot. And it takes a moment to just really feel how fortunate you are and be grateful for each other. And it puts you in a really good, balanced frame of mind, I think.
Yeah, I can see it, I sense it, and I see success usually when that kind of setup, as it were, is in play. You've got 3 seniors on this squad. But you're really young, I would argue. A ton of freshmen. Yes, a good chunk of juniors as well, which I know can make a difference. You're led by Miranda Rice, a senior, of course, appropriately enough, and Michaela Miller in double figures. Of course, she's one of your seniors. Both of them 17.1 and 16.7 respectively. Kendall Thompson and Justine Lee, both at 9 points a game. Also should point out both Rice and Miller averaging 6+ rebounds again. I spoke wrong. Oh, no, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm looking at 2 different stat sheets here. 6.6 and 4.8 rebounds for Rice and Miller. Obviously, they're the two. I mean, they're the beast of it all. But again, you're young. You're getting contributions from them. It's more than those two as well.
Yeah, I mean, Ava Gonzarowski was the Rookie of the Year. She's been our starting point guard for, the last 20 games probably. And I mean, I hear people talk about your big dogs. I mean, you have to build your program around somebody, and when you have an inside-outside presence like Michaela and Miranda, it's nice when one of those players is struggling. You kind of have someone else to go to, and I think that. Advice someone told me is you're supposed to always if you could sign a couple kids you're not supposed to have on your team and build them with really good support people, that's how you build a really good, successful Division III program. And, we've been able to do that, I think, with Michaela and Miranda. They've been playing since their freshman year. They've been starting since their freshman year. And, Miranda has played in more basketball games at Gustavus than any woman in the history of our women's basketball program.
Wow.
Michaela Miller scored 21 or whatever points she scored on yesterday. She became the all-time scorer, men or women, in the history of Gustavus. I mean, they have left their mark on our program and our college, and we feel very fortunate. And it's been those two people, with the support of those juniors and the learning of these incoming freshmen, to hopefully take over and help continue to build our program to really get us where we are. And you just don't replace those players when they leave typically right away, and it's a great challenge for our underclassmen and our returners to really see what you have to do. Miranda Rice is one of the hardest working players I have ever coached. She wasn't highly recruited. She was somebody that gets in the gym every summer and she lifts and trains, and to see someone really commit like a gym rat the way she has and have the success she has this year, as a coach, it's just you wish so much for that success, and her hard work is definitely paying off.
Yeah, the fact that she's played in more games, that's mind-boggling to me to some degree. But it also shows how much postseason is important and how many postseason games you played. That being said, you've also added games, but still, it's certainly significant. What do you expect this weekend? I know Thomas More is a tough team. We talked a little bit about it already, but what do you expect? I know you probably haven't looked at that much tape, though.
Oh, I had some film up on about 1 o'clock this morning. It says you couldn't sleep at the hotel. I guess you're going to sleep when it's over. They're good. They're really good. They score. You look at statistically, they shoot the ball really, really well, and they're led by a very good basketball player as a 6-foot guard forward, and like I said, we'll look at more about them. They score a lot of points. They shoot it really well. For us, we're just gonna do what we do best. I think that's you have to come into the game. You're not going to reinvent the wheel in 2 days. You've built your program. You've kind of built what your fundamentals are and what your foundation is offensively and defensively, and you're going to go in with the best game plan to try to play your best basketball, and you're going to make a team beat you. I think that's your, can you walk off the gym at the end of the day, regardless of what the score is, and A, can you say, I gave everything I could give? And B, you walk off the floor saying, we got beat, like someone beat us, rather than say, gosh, I wish we would have played better, or gosh, if we would have played Gusty basketball, could we have won that game? I mean, you want to be proud of the fact that you gave everything you got, you played your best you could play, and if somebody just has your number that day, then that's what competition's about. I mean, somebody unfortunately has to go home, and you're reminded of that when you're standing outside the locker rooms and you see those Whitewater seniors who've had a phenomenal career over the last 4 years, making it to 2 Final Fours, and you see the heartbreak in those eyes, and even though they're not your players, your heart breaks. I mean, it's something that's part of your life for so long, and when it's all over, it's been a long time since I had shoes on and stepped on a floor, but I remember it like yesterday when you walk off that floor the last time with your teammates, and so it makes you just more grateful for the opportunity that you have this week. And this week we're gonna enjoy it, and we're gonna work hard, and we're gonna try to come up with a good game plan, and we're gonna show up on Friday the best prepared we can, and just let the chips fall where they may.
Coach, I've seen video. You're stepping on the floor a lot. I'm just saying, you're there. I haven't seen you behind the bench.
That's true. That is true. I have to say, a couple times I get warned about that new extended line.
Come on. Why should any of you be warned about the new line?
Well, you know what? It's like anything. You always want a little bit more.
Stop
when they increased the speed limit from 60 to 65, when we were all going 65, now we all go 70. So it's like you always take that extra inch. And so, take a step back, you're all right.
Yeah, you're just, the rest of us who are broadcasting, public address announcing or whatever, are just going to throw things at you from now on. I actually clicked my mic off on a few coaches I knew well and said, hey, Coach, get out of my way.
Well, I have to say, I'm trying to be conscious of, in the end, so, I think when you show up for the game, I said this to our SID at the game, I said, at this point, are you ready? Yeah, I mean, you at this point, you've done everything you think you can do. Now you're going to sit back and you're going to kind of try to enjoy the show and make it be a really positive experience. And, like I said, it's icing on the cake. That's kind of how I feel. Like we probably are the lowest ranked. I mean, when we think of rankings and things, yeah, I said to the team, we're probably the lowest ranked team left. And yeah, maybe. You know what? At this point, it's just one game. We're 80 minutes away from a Final Four. Like you think about it in that term, it's like 80 minutes of basketball, and you could be 1 of 4. So.
That's a fair point. Good point. By the way, I've never seen a coach who just sits back and enjoys the game while.
That is true.
Come on.
That is true. You know what? The only time you sit back and enjoy it is when it's on Synergy and you already know the outcome.
Yeah, there you go. Right, and I don't even know. I would argue you're still not enjoying it, but that's beside the point.
My husband would tell you that coaches never really ever watch a game. And
No.
we realize that even when my daughter is now playing for the first time at varsity level, it's the coach in you just doesn't seem to go away. But
It's like me. My wife goes crazy because I can't watch anything on television without my brain going crazy with the production.
yes, I
Why
get
did they
that.
do
I
that?
assure you.
And I hear the wife go, "Can you stop, please? Please." The sad part is she's starting to do it now, too.
I have to say, like, now that I have a daughter that plays, and someday I hope she plays for me. So
I don't know.
I have to be careful not to be. I have to be that really supportive mom and not be too crazy as a coach, so she doesn't pick another school. I tell her.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I promised my kids, they don't know this yet, I will never be that parent because I've been a coach myself, youth level. I will probably be coaching them at the youth level at some point. I can't teach them this young. I can't. I can't do fundamentals. I can do strategy. But my point being is, I'm not going to be those parents. Those parents drive me insane, and I'd rather enjoy the game and keep my mouth shut than anything else. So
That's good advice.
Yeah.
You know what? My college coach said, when you sit in the stands, you cheer.
Yes.
And 2, you keep your mouth shut.
Yes, exactly. And by the way, another little tidbit I always tell crowds: if the coach and the player aren't complaining about the call, stop it.
Yeah, it's not the truth.
Yeah. Anyway, Coach, I could talk to you forever, and I'm glad we finally got you on the show despite all our challenges. It was wonderful to chat.
Thanks, Dave.
Congratulations on a tremendous season. I will, before we ask you the actual final question, the penultimate one is, tell me how sweet it was to beat Whitewater after they gave you a loss earlier this season.
It was by far my greatest experience in my 6 years I've been at Gustavus. And I think the the emotion that you feel is almost speechless as those kids go running from the bench and are piled on each other on the floor. When I see it on the film, all that hard work, all that commitment, all the sacrifice. And I think for anything, I want every kid that's out there playing basketball to have that experience. And I know that doesn't happen. And again, going back to a player that got to win it all and having that be such a significant moment in my life as a young adult, I just yearn for my student athletes to have that opportunity. And I know it doesn't happen. So when the feeling I had was more of, one, just rejoice that they get to have that feeling. And now it almost makes you hungry to think, gosh, could you get one more in you to see if you could have that happen again? And I think that's the part that it almost becomes contagious, or that drive to want it again. It's addictive. And so we're going to just enjoy today, and then tomorrow we're going to go to work and get ready to make a great trip to Michigan and hopefully give Thomas More a great basketball game.
Excellent. I'm ready to play. When do you need me to show? Oh, wait, that's not going to work. On a whole host of reasons, that's not going to work. Coach, thanks again for taking the time to join us. Really appreciate it. Appreciate the effort as well. We always give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share, those who are tuning in?
First of all those people out there that support Division III, thank you. People like you that make our student athletes feel special. That's important. We're not on national TV, and we're not cutting nets down in front of thousands and thousands of people, but these student athletes sacrifice and work very, very hard. And as a former D3 athlete and someone that is around unbelievable high-quality character kids, thank you for people that support Division III, because they are remarkable young men and women, and I just feel very fortunate to be able to be part of this community.
Well said. Thank you for your time. Good luck this weekend, win or lose. We look forward to talking to you down the road sometime and seeing how the Gusties do.
Thanks again, Dave.
Absolutely. Take care.
Bye.
Is Laurie Kelly joining us on the City of Salem Hoopsville hotline. Appreciate her taking the time to join us. If she's Apparently we killed the mic. I hope we didn't lose the whole interview. Oh, I killed it after the interview. Thanks, Luke. Oh, let's go back through that, shall we? All right, so on the women's side of the bracket, someone asked me about it. My thoughts on the women's side of the bracket are this. Amherst, Montclair State's going to be a fascinating game. Amherst didn't play as well against St. Joseph as I expected them to. Montclair State is a team that is playing better than I think I had realized they would be playing. Their win over Gettysburg was eye-opening to me, 70-45, and Amherst's struggles against St. Joseph's were kind of surprising. Really spoke a lot more about St. Joseph's, I think better than people really thought they were. That's going to be a fascinating game. Rochester Tech, they know each other well. Yeah, we can make jokes about the game being played in Amherst instead of Rochester, but these two teams know each other well. They're both playing very well. Big wins to get here. Rochester over Marymount was pretty impressive. That's going to be a good game to watch. Hope, Christopher Newport, two behemoths with contrasting styles, completely opposite, taking each other on. And then Christopher Newport also going to have to deal with the Holland crowd. That's going to be a great one to watch. Thomas More Gustavus Adolphus don't know each other. We just got done talking about it. That's going to be a great game to watch. Scranton Bowdoin in that historic pod we talked about. I thought Scranton would host this, but Bowdoin is a tough team. Scheibels and Woodruff going at each other. That's one to circle and certainly keep an eye on. And Messiah Tufts is going to be great. Definitely going to be defensive minded, but Messiah likes to play more offensively than Tufts does. And I'm curious if Messiah is going to be able to find any kinks in the armor to be able to be successful that way. Wartburg versus Trine. Oh, come on. This is a great game. Wartburg absolutely smoked George Fox, 82-58. For anybody out there who didn't think Wartburg was good, I think that win over George Fox says a lot. And then Trine is better than people give them credit. I know they were 1-3 versus regionally ranked opponents, but I hated the fact they had to play DePaul early, but they are proving that they are a good team that should have been respected maybe a little bit more. I know, probably outside the criteria, but Wartburg Trine's a great name. And that game, and then ETBU versus St. Thomas is a complete out-of-the-world game. Neither team knows each other well. St. Thomas getting by Chicago is an impressive victory. But East Texas Baptist, to come out of that Texas pod, says a lot. And I think that game is going to be fascinating, to say the least. Dave Feldman, no power, but he's learning about D3. Sir, buddy, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate your willingness to learn about it in Division III. We'll talk more about it down the road. On the men's side, Ramapo, Franklin, and Marshall. This is what I said while my mic was muted. Two Ps from two different pods. They don't tend to play each other all that often. This is a game that should have happened a long time ago, but I'm glad to see we're getting it this time. This is going to be a talk about contrasting styles. This is it. Middlebury versus MIT. They haven't played each other since 06-07. This is going to be an outstanding game. Looking forward to seeing how that matches up because both teams are so disciplined, so well coached. Oshkosh, Emory, and Emory always gets sent to these games in these locales and having to show up. And granted, they're used to it from UAA travel, but Oshkosh showed me a lot by getting past Wittenberg the way they did. And then Augustana, John Carroll, two teams we've been talking about all season, two very good teams. First-year head coach at John Carroll, long-time head coach at Augustana. Really good matchup there as well. Whitman versus Stevens Point. Talk about opposites, right? Whitman, both of them are defensive-minded, interesting enough, but for different reasons. Whitman's kind of a crazy, in-your-face, 94 feet type of defense like John Carroll, where Stevens Point's that methodical, almost strangle-you type defense. They'll be efficient, as some person said to me, on offense, but Whitman will be explosive on offense. Fascinating X's and O's game. That one I'm definitely going to try and watch as much as I can of. Nebraska Wesleyan, Platteville, the two unknowns, basically. Nebraska Wesleyan in their second full year is a Division III member, playing very well, but we couldn't get a good sense of it with their out-of-conference schedule. And Platteville, remember, dead last in the WIAC last year. This is a team that has come out of nowhere to some degree, led the WIAC and playing darn good basketball. Swarthmore-Plattsburgh, this might be the game that's got more questions than answers because Swarthmore ended up being much stronger in the tournament than I expected. Maybe the light finally went on for the Garnet. Plattsburgh State, though, is on the longest winning streak in men's basketball this season. They have an absolutely explosive offense, but they're also pretty disciplined on defense. And on the other side of that, got Hamilton and Springfield. Very similar teams. Springfield plays a lot of NESCAC teams. Hamilton's obviously a NESCAC squad who plays a lot of teams like Springfield. Hamilton much bigger than I thought they were when I saw them at York. Springfield under Coach Brock, they've got a couple great weapons. That's an anybody's game. There are some outstanding games to be played this weekend on Friday, and it's going to be fun, absolutely fun to watch. I can't wait for it, to be honest with you. Again, I'm not going to make picks. Thursday we can talk a little bit more in depth of these games, but I'm not going to make picks. I call games for the NCAA when we get to Salem. I don't want some of those out there who feel like, oh, because his pick was right or wrong, he's going to have an opinion on the game. That's not how I operate. I pick for fun. But I'm tired of any of you getting the ammunition for a dumb argument, and so I just don't make picks anymore as a result of that. Haven't done it in a little bit of time. Sorry, Todd Pedler. We figured it out. Sorry about it, guys. I apparently hit a button as we were going away from the last interview. All right, so now let's back up. I had two thoughts on Yeshiva. On the game itself and some other things. Let me first start by saying the Yeshiva game had plenty of social media ire leading up to it. Talk of one of their players, Bar Aluf, having played quote-unquote professionally in Israel before coming to Yeshiva. He's a sophomore. Let's point that out. As an abundance of caution is the best way I can describe it from those who I talked to, both at the school or from representing the school and representing the conference. Yeshiva decided not to play Aloof in the game against York. I think it did make a difference. Yeshiva played pretty well against York. I think they took York out of their game, and York got a little discombobulated after going on a significant run to lead 20-8. I think from there it was a little bit kind of haphazard, and York really wasn't. York was ripe for the taking if Yeshiva had been able to put a few things together. Yeshiva's young. There's no denying that they're young, but this is going to be a heck of a growing period, and I think we'll be talking about the Max for quite some time. That said, they did park Aloof. Here's my problem with all of this. From what I've been told, his clearance on playing in the NCAA has been checked, double-checked, and even triple-checked, and the NCAA apparently has said it's okay. To some degree, if you think there's something wrong, and the NCAA has waived it or approved of it twice, enough's enough. I don't know enough about professional sports overseas to determine by seeing a guy's name on a roster what that means. We have high school. We have clubs. We can talk about, especially in baseball, all of the different things that you play in, whether it be Little League, whether it's Cal Ripken, whether it's Babe Ruth, Legion, and all of those things that people take part in that are outside of school, extra play, you're not paid for. Your expenses are taken care of. Your hotel would be taken care of, your meals, your transportation, etc. To make a fury of this as they're heading into the NCAA tournament when he's a sophomore bothers me. I don't know where the truth is. I've read through the bylaws more than I want to, especially this year. In the last couple of years, I've read through the bylaws more than I want to. And I mean that because I'm tired of some of these scenarios. If he was on a professional team, and honestly, it could have been a summer rec league for all I could care, and his expenses were taken care of and he wasn't paid and there was no salary, there isn't an issue here. That's how I understand the bylaws. That's how I understand them from those I've talked to about them. If he was paid a salary, then we've got a problem. Absolutely. Now, if the NCAA cleared him and he lied and he was paid a salary, then we've got a problem. I'm not disagreeing with that. But nothing I've gotten from information indicates that. And him being parked, everyone thinks is a red flag. I don't. I think Yeshiva's made a decision they didn't need to make and made a decision based on hoping they don't lose him for the future. I think Yeshiva felt they were backed in the corner and had no choice. Listen, if there's a problem with his resume and the NCAA cleared him twice, as reportedly I've been told, and he shouldn't have been cleared, that's an NCAA problem or it's the player problem for telling us wrong information. But I get this feeling that's not all it is. I think this is, and what really drives me crazy is those who are in the profession, those who are in Division III, who are the ones screaming bloody murder in public and then patting themselves on the back because, hey, look what I did. I finally got this stopped. That makes my blood boil. I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten emails, texts, phone calls, whatever, about something that's wrong, and it's taken place behind the scenes, I'm contacted behind the scenes, and I work a story from behind the scenes, and I don't bring it out in public unless I know it's accurate and it needs to be addressed, and it is addressed. In the meantime, by the way, I've also contacted those entities that it affects to go out in public and drag the team and the player through the mud based on screenshots of rosters with no other information, and then pat yourself on the back. And by the way, it's not just one person. There's multiple people doing this. Pat themselves on the back saying, ha, look what I did. I made sure he didn't play, is disgusting. Plain and simple, especially for someone in the profession and in the division. If you have a problem, raise it elsewhere. If you have a problem, handle it professionally. If you feel you aren't getting the results you need, there are still other avenues to pursue, including contacting the likes of myself and my colleagues, but not in social media and in the public. Nothing comes of that well. The school looks bad, even if they're right. The player looks bad, even if they're right. The situation looks bad, even if it's wrong. You don't look good, even if you're right. Find another way to contact people. I got it. My first private contact about this issue came on Friday morning from someone who claimed it was the biggest or the most well-known secret in Metro New York. But it had been on social media for days, and I kept getting tagged on social media. I at least applaud someone who emailed me, even though the email was half a joke, and I mean that seriously. Provide me proof. If you're going to provide me an allegation, you better provide me some proof. And screenshots of a roster are not proof, because these leagues can compete and you're not paid. I don't know who's right. I don't know who's wrong. I don't know if he's eligible or he's not. From what I've been told, and for 2 years, he's been approved by the NCAA. Why this is now an issue at the end of his sophomore season is a little bit questionable. It questions the motives. Yes, they're in the NCAA tournament. I get that. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have been just as vocal at the beginning of his freshman year. If you don't like the answer, that's not my problem. And now to pat yourself on the back because Yeshiva parked him and lost a game probably because of it rubs me wrong. There are better ways to handle this. You can ask a lot of people. I am contacted about information. I keep it to myself. I work a story. I figure it out. I then tell that story when it is right, and I tell that story when I've gotten all my I's and T's taken care of. I do not take it out into public. And neither should you if you're in this division, and neither should you if you're in this profession. Drives me insane. And patting yourself on the back. Look, I finally did it. Someone finally listened. They listened because these individuals made it so bad on social media, they had no choice but to park them, basically. And that's disappointing. Now, if we find out at the end that Yeshiva was in the wrong, and either the school screwed up or he screwed up or whatever, I'm just going to be as disappointed in Yeshiva as I am in those individuals now. I'm not going to congratulate those individuals. I will say that now, because there's better ways to do this. You're tagging me on social media. You're tagging my colleagues on social media during this week leading up the NCAA tournament, telling us about problems. You never emailed me. You never called me in 2 years. It's bad behavior. We are D3. We have ways to figure these things out and handle them correctly. Let's do that correctly. I am more than happy to take an email and search it out. I am more than happy to take a phone call and search it out. If I find validity to it, I will continue to search it out. I will bring my colleagues into the mix. We will find a solution to it. But to drag a school and a player through the mud to get your goal accomplished of parking him for an NCAA tournament game, whether you're right or you're wrong, it's just ugly. And I don't think it was well handled. I think you forced Yeshiva into a position they can't win. And even if you end up being wrong, if the NCAA comes out with a statement that says he is fine, you're still not going to be happy. I think it was horribly handled. On the flip side of it, I think Yeshiva's game also provided us an opportunity to re-examine how we do opening weekend, maybe the entire tournament games. I know we've talked about it, I think, on air. I know our group has talked about it off air, and I know we've talked about it with others. We have in the handbook that games are to start at a certain time, 5:30, 7:30. Women have a little bit of flexibility. Men, that's pretty much the lock standard. I got an idea. Let's start staggering these times. When we set those rules up, we didn't have web streaming. Games weren't on television. I get it all. But there might be an argument here to start staggering times. If I have this number right, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. Yeshiva had 13,000 people watching that game online, and it was on DirecTV. I got a chance, this is selfish, I got a chance to drive to York, Pennsylvania, see a game and a half, hightail it down to Johns Hopkins in Baltimore, and see another 2 games. It was awesome. That's how we should celebrate this. Let's get a chance to drag these games out. Maybe we can't go all day. That's maybe a little bit extreme. But staggering the game time so we can see the finishes to more games instead of them all taking place at the same time. So more fans can tune into a game and then tune into another game and enjoy the day of basketball. That's not a bad idea, right? I think that would be fun. So let's start staggering games. Maybe on the East Coast, we play a couple 3 and 5 o'clock games instead. And then you also still on the East Coast have a 5:30 and a 7:30. And then in the Great Lakes in the Midwest, we start staggering. I got home and I got to go watch, or tried to watch the games out of Whitman. Had some technical difficulties that I'm pretty sure went on my end, but it's not Whitman's fault either. I got to watch more games. Wouldn't that be fun for D3 fans to see games a little bit more stretched out? Oh, you know, like they do at D1? I know D1's television, but the games start at 12 and go till past midnight. We have web streaming now. We have these capabilities of seeing games across the country, around the world. Let's start staggering game times so we can enjoy them. And I'm not just talking basketball. It'd be fun to do in football instead of just noontime games. If teams have lights, let's start staggering. Let's do a 12 kick, a 12:30 kick, a 1, a 1:30, a 2. In soccer, stagger the games. In lacrosse, stagger the games. Across the board, let's start having some fun so we can celebrate Division III. If you're worried about how that might affect the next day, the Saturday games can be on the same schedule. So the 3 and 5 o'clocks get together at 4, and the 4 and 6 plays at 5, and you stagger the Saturday games too. It'd be fun. It'd be more enjoyable to the fans to see games because you not only get to see what you're seeing in your gym, but you can also go home and see some more games. Or those who can't make any of them, they can flip around and see all kinds of games as they're wrapping up. Or if we ever go back and do a whip-around show, we'd have staggered game finishes as well. It'd be a lot more fun. Just a thought. I think the Yeshiva game kind of proved that when you have that many people tuning in, right? Just a thought. I think we can do better. I think we can do better. Double checking to see if we got any tweets. Great interview with Laurie Kelly, and so glad you're able to get a hold of her. Hope the Gusties can do the unthinkable on Friday night. Well, they just might. They certainly are a good team. I'll say that much. One last note before we go. Forgot to mention this last week. I apologize to our friends in upstate New York. We got another jersey. And I know John Carroll's jersey hasn't been hung. We're working on it. But thank you to Nazareth. Nazareth sent a jersey, and you might notice we got a couple common numbers, some random ones. We have a couple 23s in the building. John Carroll sent a 23 center, which is hiding now over my shoulder. We're going to figure out as much 20. 23 is my number in case anybody's curious. But Nazareth sent 11, and if you're wondering, here's the note we got from Nazareth from their head coach. Said, thanks for all you do for D3 Hoops. Hey, anytime. Here is Naz jersey, actually Jeff Van Gundy's number when he was here. Yeah, Jeff Van Gundy wore number 11. Nazareth number 11 jersey will be up in the studio. sometime in the near future, we hope, along with the John Carroll jersey we got as well. If you have anything, memorabilia, Wheaton noticed the basket that sits over our shoulder during the selection show was still there. We've got some basketballs you see from tournaments that we're going to be hanging sometime soon. Greenville jersey, Ramapo jersey, Ohio Wesleyan. That's actually signed by Lauren Hill. We've got that's the Brockport jersey we got over our shoulder as well. New Jersey City jersey, and lots of other memorabilia. See, I know we got to get the Hoopsville sign moved up. We will do that. We've got some memorabilia over here, actually, from some Final Fours. We're gonna do some more to dress up the studio and get some more things hung that need to be hung. If you want anything, contact me. If you want to send us anything, we will take whatever contributions you want. And those who have contacted me about donations of the financial kind, please bear with me. I will be in touch with you if there's any others out there. We did not run a formal fundraiser for a lot of reasons this year, but people have still been interested. I thank you. We will certainly love to take you up on your offers. And with that, I think we're going to wrap up the show. Much later than we thought, but that's sometimes how this goes. Appreciate everybody tuning in, and appreciate you also rolling with us with some of our guests, as I flipped a couple guest orders, but at the same time had some troubles. But Chuck McBrain from Ramapo, Larry Anderson from MIT, Jason Zimmerman from Emory, Bill Broderick from Christopher Newport, Carla Berube from Tufts, and Laurie Kelly from Gustavus Adolphus. Of course, also all thanks to their sports information directors and their offices for their help as well. We'll be on the air Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Not sure who we'll have for guests. We're working on that list in the next 24 to 36 hours. Get our requests out as well. And we'll also find out, stick with me on Twitter, you'll find out where I'm headed for the NCAA tournament. Hope you enjoyed the show despite some technical difficulties behind the scenes, including me apparently muting my mic a number of times. You didn't really want to listen to me, did you? Hope you enjoyed it. If you got, I'm trying to double check. I sent a question to one of the guys about something. I just want to check. Yeah, I'm going to leave that alone. Jay brought something up going on in at York. Jay, you can talk to me in private about that. I don't think your whole story is the whole truth. Let's put it that way. Todd Pedler says, wouldn't it be great if something like Division I? I agree, Todd. I think it would be awesome. Daryl Duncan, great thought. Staggered games, especially for us West Coast D3 fans. That'd be fun for you guys, too. Yeah, you could enjoy a bunch of games before heading out to the West Coast to see your games. I think it'd be outstanding. Hey, Damian Pitts joined the show. John Bell and Sam Atkinson. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Appreciate it, though you're catching the end. Don't worry, you can watch the show on demand. Damian, no pressure. I can't wait to be talking to you on this show sometime in the near future with what you're doing at Centenary or anywhere else in the future as well. All right, so that's going to do it. I was going to give a Springfield sound, but it was from earlier. You can easily see that another time. Yeah, you can see it online. I was going to bring it to you, but we ran out of time. Again, coming up Thursday, we'll be on the show 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Then again, reminder next Sunday. And then don't forget, on the road in Salem, we will not do the show on Thursday night like we have done sometimes in the past. Last few years have gotten away from that because we are courtside, folks. Courtside in Salem. We do so much previewing of games in Salem on that Friday and Saturday that doing the Thursday show is just, well, redundant. Also, too much other stuff going on. But thanks for tuning in, everybody. Really hope you enjoyed it. Great weekend to start, and I think we're going to have a thrilling weekend next week with games. All 16 games on both sides, men's and women's, are going to be must-watch on Friday night, and I hope you'll enjoy them. With that, thanks to everybody who tuned in. Thank you for the guests who appeared on the show as well. Look forward to seeing you back here on Thursday. You've been watching Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com from the WBCANABC Studios. Thanks to our partners, D3Hoops.com, Women's Basketball Coaches Association, the National Association of Basketball Coaches, and, of course, our friends at the City of Salem. I want to thank them for the polo they sent me, celebrating 25 years of championships in Salem. Wonderful polo to wear. I'm going to enjoy wearing it in the future as well. That's going to do it. If you'd like to do anything with this show, make sure you contact us with permission. It's just nice to do professionally. We hope you will take the time. In the meantime, we'll be back here Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you want to listen to the podcast, go to Google Play, Apple Podcasts, or, of course, SoundCloud. Good night, everybody.